Welcome to this very special episode of With Enough Prep Time, where I'm going to be discussing. Where I'm going to be discussing Succession, TV show Succession. Um, Good. I got really scared. I was streaming on Facebook then, but it looks like I'm not. So yeah, welcome to this very special episode. I'm going to be talking Succession today. Talking my predictions of where the show is going to go, what I thought of the season so far, um, and it's going to be a little bit controversial. Some of my views here. I was a big fan of Succession seasons 1 till 3. I thought they were some of the best television that I've ever seen. In terms of quality of TV shows, I think it's right up there with Breaking Bad. Some of my favorite shows like Oz. And it was really one of those things where it was, I think must see TV at a certain point. Hey, dude, what's going on? Cool. Who here's watched Succession? Let me know if you've actually seen or been watching Succession. Sup, man. And you guys would really help me out by asking me questions. Anything that you want to ask me as well about Succession, because it will keep me on my toes, thinking about the show, because sometimes I get a bit kind of scattered. I did not watch this because it just looked like a family who wanted to kill each other over cash. You're not necessarily wrong, but the funny thing and the interesting thing about them is they don't necessarily want to kill each other for some reason. Um, that seems to be their kind of limit. They do pretty much anything else to each other outside of wanting to kill each other. No, man, sorry I couldn't make it. We can catch up soon. Sure, that's okay, man. That's fine. And that was triggering for me. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean about having a kind of broken family, and I think a lot of people compare this show to Shakespeare, and to me, I think it almost I think that's kind of overdone. This idea that it's like this kind of Shakespearean tragedy akin to King Lear or something like that. But what it does remind me of is the famous Tolstoy quote, which says every happy family is alike, but every unhappy family is unhappy in their own particular way. And that's the story of the Roys essentially. Each one of them is deeply dissatisfied with life, um, and the odd thing about their dissatisfaction, which makes it kind of existentially interesting, is that they have everything. So, just for those who haven't really seen the show, a kind of basic kind of premise of this show is um, uh, Logan Roy, who is played by Brian Cox, one of my favorite actors of all time. Um, who is played by Brian Cox, one of my favorite actors of all time. Essentially, is playing a kind of Rupert Murdoch figure, who is a he's a media mogul who owns news channels, movie studios. He owns fun fairs, or like Disneyland kind of thing, connected to his movie studio. So he has this big media empire, and he's the CEO. And he has 3 siblings. There's actually 4 children that he has, but really it's only 3 siblings who are really veering to take his position as CEO. And then there are some other kind of colorful characters at the side of it. And the first 3 seasons were peerless in terms of their writing. Honestly, just so engaging. It was a premise, I never would have watched this show just off the premise. I can't stand stuff about rich billionaires suffering, like stories about how they suffer and how, their life is difficult and all of that kind of crap. I'm not here for that. I have no time for it. It just doesn't interest me at all. The only reason I ended up watching this show was because I'm a huge fan of Kieran Culkin, who absolutely kills it in this show, and we'll talk about him a bit later. And I'm a huge fan of Brian Cox, the great illusionist. But I've been a huge fan of Brian Cox since he was in 25th Hour. I loved his portrayal in the X-Men. There's another film that I remember that I saw him in originally. I know he played the original Hannibal Lecter. It wasn't the most impressive of his performances, but I've never seen him in a bad performance apart from that. The Hannibal Lecter, where he played Hannibal Lecter essentially. But he's essentially my favorite character in this show. But let's get to it, because I want to do this in some kind of order and talk about what's happened in season 4. And this is going to be pure spoilers. I'm going to do my review of season 4, how I've been feeling about it week to week. I've heard a lot of the prattle online about how great and fantastic season 4 is, how it's epic TV, and it's really kind of pushing the boundaries, and how brave of them to end in season 4. Now, one thing I agree with all of the hubbub that has been going on about season 4 is that I am happy that Jesse Armstrong, the guy who wrote this, do it, man, spoil it. I'm glad Jesse Armstrong, who wrote this, was smart enough to know, hey, this is the final. This should be the final season, because I don't know how long you could draw on this concept of these 3 siblings trying to get Logan Roy's position, and their kind of backstabbing efforts to actually get Logan Roy or overthrow their father. That being said, even though this is the last season, I have some problems. So let's start with the first episode, which I'm going to share with you now so that you can kind of follow along. So there have been so far, I believe, 9 episodes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 episodes, pardon me. There have been 10 episodes so far in this season, and tomorrow, I'm talking tomorrow, is the last ever episode we will see of Succession. And what a run they've had. Just incredible from week to week. But let's start with this season, okay? So the first episode we saw in season 4 was The Monsters. As Kendel, Shiv, and Roman hone their pitch for investors in LA, Logan learns of a rival bid on a long-coveted acquisition. Now, in this episode, Brian Cox was incredible, as per usual. But what I noticed in this episode was that some of the magic had been missing, and I felt like I was watching maybe a parody of the show that I used to watch. Now, they have a very particular form of expressing themselves, a very idiosyncratic form of writing dialogue, which is beautiful. And for the first three seasons, they blended that particular form of speech very, very well with natural sounding dialogue. But as season four, what I've noticed in season four is like it's like they've read all the things that people love about, like them swearing all the time, saying fuck for no reason, or fuckity fuck, or whatever that the characters kind of generally say to kind of express themselves. And it's like they've taken all of those elements that people loved, and then they've forgotten about natural speech. They've forgotten about how people naturally actually talk to each other, and just gone with all of the how would you call it, all of the um stylized form of speech that has made the show so funny and so watchable. And I think that's harmed the characters, because the monsters for me was a really it didn't start off this season very well. I was kind of worried, but then I remembered back to season three, and season three had a pretty weak first episode. It was like they were just putting all of the um, uh, how would you say, all of the um, like all of there's an expression I'm forgetting, but all of the kind of logs or whatever, they were just putting them in place essentially. So I understood that maybe they were kind of building to something. There was this kind of Gojo deal that was going down with Alexander Skarsgård's character, and basically Logan had betrayed his children, gone over their heads, and essentially now he was just preparing to put this Gojo deal together, sell off his company apart from his news channel, which he wanted to keep. So all right, it's just building the blocks. It's setting up everything. It's setting the stage. Dominoes in place. Thank you. It's setting the stage for the drama to come. So, and season three was very interesting, because season three went from a very weak first episode to a fucking astounding, I mean, one of the best performances, in television history, or of like three characters. It was like a stage play filmed between the three siblings, and they're just talking in a flat. And Kendel Roy, my main enemy, my frenemy, the guy I hate so much, and I don't understand why he's become a hero to the nation, was absolutely on fire in that episode. Like, don't get me wrong, I hate all of these characters. I don't like any of them. I don't want to see any of them win. A lot of people are like, "Oh, I'm Team Shiv, or I'm Team Roman, or I'm Team." At best, I can maybe say the lesser of three evils, or something like that. Who would be the lesser of three evils? But in general, I despise all of these characters, and he is the top of the hill of who I despise. Of all of these characters. But with him, he's just a phenomenal actor, and it's not the performance, it's his character, and he's playing the character well. And I don't really see, he's playing it so well that, with all of these characters, it's a crazy thing that this show does, that it allows you to at the same time despise these characters, but then in a single moment you kind of empathize with them because of just because of how fantastic the performances are. Hey, Film Elitas, thank God you're saving me right now.
What's up, buddy?
I'm so happy you're here, man. This is going to be all love, because I mean, trust me. we might have a few disagreements, but I don't think we're going to have like a wild disagreement. Other than I think that this has been the weakest season. It's not bad TV, but it's been the weakest season, apart from two phenomenal episodes. And I think you might be able to guess which. And in fact, it's three phenomenal episodes, to be fair. And I think you might be able to guess which episodes I'm talking about. And that's why I said I think Jesse Armstrong is right in saying that, hey, this should be the last season, But just before I go on, what has been your overall impression of the dynamic duo are back? Yes, the two gods, three gods, WZ and the rapping in the chat as well.
This should show how much I love Nerd, man, because I haven't streamed in 6 months, and this will probably be the only time you guys see me for maybe ever. But I'm doing this for you, bro, and because I love this show. And I miss you, man. I hope everything is good. Just get that.
I miss you too, man. I do. I hope you're well and looking after yourself. I am as well. I'm canceling Twitter after Flash, bro. Canceling Twitter.
I understand.
I've had enough. I want to see like just the fallout from that, and then I'm gone. But anyway, go.
Well, I'm glad we're doing this because this show deserves it, and you're my dude. I'm sounding like an AI. I had Pickle's headset in because I don't even have a headset anymore. I'm so detached from all of this.
Is there any way of you like doing something, or is it? I don't mind, honestly, because
what about now?
Yeah, it's fantastic. It sounds good.
Better.
But,
okay.
Yeah. I don't mind.
So my overall impressions of the season. There was this happened last season too. About halfway through, I was like, "Is this dipping in quality?" But as I said in the comments, the more I've thought about it, everything from episode 3. Am I allowed to say what happens there?
Yeah. It's full spoilers.
Okay, yeah. So when Logan dies, everything that's happened since has been like 6 or 7 days. So that's not usually the timeline in the show. It's kind of open to like, oh, this might be a few months or whatever. So, I was forgetting at times like, oh, like when Shiv told Tom during the election episode, she's like, my dad just died. It doesn't feel like that to us because we're not used to that pace, but to the characters, it was just a few days ago that Logan died.
Right.
So a lot of the humor that's normally there is not. It's very somber and dark. It's darker and more somber and volatile than any of the other seasons, I would say.
Oh yeah.
So I think that is affecting it, and then I think the other thing is just that timeline. It's weird. The structure is different because it's all happening rapidly.
Right.
So I think when you watch them back to back, it might be better. And I've gone back and rewatched some of the episodes, and I'm like, oh, okay. Just like with season 3, there's only 1 or 2 like mediocre episodes. It's actually a really good season. It's just, they're doing things that I have to rewatch.
Well, season 3 was fantastic from episode 2. I didn't find there wasn't a gelding in the bunch after episode 2 of season 3. Season 1 and 2 are the best. I mean, season 3 is the best. Season 1 and 2 are the most consistently funny, hilarious. All of the characters are firing on all cylinders. Like, for instance, I loved Greg in season 1 and 2, and I don't know why people are doing fan theories of Greg winning. Greg winning would would be like what's his name from Game of Thrones, Bran the Broken all over again. If that motherfucker wins, I might throw my fucking laptop, like, because I nearly did it with Bran the Broken. I will be so pissed.
I'm glad we're on the same page on that.
But he was phenomenal in the first 2 seasons. He was great.
Oh yeah.
And I don't think it's the actor's fault necessarily, although I do now wonder if maybe he is the weakest actor of the bunch. But that being said, there's no reason for him to be in this show. I don't believe they would have kept him around. I just don't believe it. I feel like he's there just because
I think
he was a fan favorite in the first 2 seasons.
I think the thing with Greg is like that whole thing where they were doing with Mattson when he was saying like, I fire people and I'm, kind of cold and calculated with that and trying to endear himself to Mattson. I think that's I've told Pickle all season, I was like, Greg is going to betray Tom in some kind of way that destroys him in the finale. That's why he's there still. I don't know if he ends
You
up on
see, this is the
Kendel or
thing, though. I think I would say you were right that he might betray Tom, but the only problem with that theory is Tom's been out and down the whole fucking season. Essentially, there's not really been a high point for him business wise, other than he and Shiv. There's not been a high for him business wise. The only high he's had is that maybe he and Shiv have got back together. But in terms of pole position to take over, he has never been in the running. This whole season, and he really got like slapped down like early on and hasn't really recovered. And that to me says, from a dramatic perspective, if you look at how the show's been going so far, it's like somebody starts off at top, and then by the end of the episode they're at the bottom, and then they'll rise again in by the end of another episode. It seems to me that the season is leading to Tom doing something big, like maybe becoming the US CEO that Madison forwards. So I'm thinking maybe the Gojo deal goes through and all three of the siblings get fucked and Tom ends up on top.
Oh, it's either that or Kendel wins and becomes his father fully, and like does something to his siblings that is so terrible.
I fucking know. Just because it would make you happy.
I
fucking hate that guy, dude.
As Jeremy Strong said, dramaturgically, I think it makes the most sense. I see what you're saying about.
He said that.
Yeah, he said dramaturgically.
He's full of shit. That does not make. That's the most obvious.
Well, you're saying about something
outcome of anything, and it doesn't make sense because, as far as I'm concerned, what's his name? Not Shiv and Roman have taken over as protagonists from him. They've really they are equal. They equally have, as much as Kendel was the one veering mostly and going against his father most, it has come to a point where Shiv and Roman, dramatically speaking, have every bit as much a reason to take that place as Kendel does. From a dramatic point. Shiv is the daughter who's never been believed in just because she's a woman. She's always fucking up, like when it comes to
it can't be Shiv.
Presenting herself as a kind of leader, as that kind of thing. However, there is still something in her that she has come through, but it's just been very privately, and it's never been acknowledged by her father. It's never been acknowledged by her brothers and sisters. She saved the company from this woman who was gonna end up taking the company down by
sexual allegations.
testifying against them, with the whole rape scandals and all of that.
But she's never really had the business.
And here's the big thing. She, in some sense, at least may take this news channel, this terrible, awful engine of destruction for the world, and misinformation for the world. She may well take it down a path that is a little bit more palatable, where it's not just a completely racist news channel and promoting sexism and all of these kind of things. So in that sense, to me, the only outcome,
well, that's not true though,
dramatically for me that makes sense, because I think Kendel would be a weak ending. The only one that dramatically makes sense is they all somehow take over, or none of them do.
But let me respond real quick to what you said about Shiv.
Yeah.
I've always seen the show as they did a good job. In season 2, Shiv, it was her turn to be manipulated by her father to believe she was going to take over. In season 3, it was Roman, right? And then they do things just like Kendel did. They make him question it, and it kind of blows up, right? And then in the end of season 3, it's like they're all united against him until he dies, right? So now we get to see who they really are on their own without him. And I agree that dramatically you're like as invested in Roman and Shiv as they made it just as interesting as it is with Kendel. But when Logan died, Kendall's the only one that's been making any smart moves. Like Shiv just clung to the power of another man, and when she was talking to Minkin, she basically showed that like everything she says about what she believes about democracy and being less racist and stuff was all hypocritical, self-serving horseshit. She said,
I agree completely. That's why I hate them all. I don't understand why any of them are
they're all bad people.
Anybody.
But here's the thing,
I agree
right?
with you. I'm just making a kind of case for them.
Yeah, sure. No, I agree with you that that's what's interesting about the show is that they both, you could see Roman doing it at one point, you could see Shiv doing it, but since their father died, Kendall's the one that stepped up. And here's the other thing: in all of the season finales, right? Shiv had season 2 and Roman had season 3 to kind of focus on them as like a possibility, but Kendall's had something every season that the others haven't had. Every season finale, he goes through some kind of like transformative thing. It's the central narrative like arc of the show, right?
Sure.
And I think that moment where he looked back at his father's grave in that last episode after he said that thing to Hugo about, you're going to be my dog. That was him basically looking at his father and saying like, I don't need your fucking approval anymore. Like I know who the fuck I am. Like in a weird way, since Logan's died, Kendall's figured it out.
Yeah.
And I get what you're saying about it being a little anticlimactic, but I don't think that it's going to be like, oh, Kendall is happy and Kendall is like ruling the world. You're going to see him being miserable looking out of that window in that skyline with a company that faked an election and has to deal with all of that stuff, because we're not going to see the resolution of that, right? We don't know.
Daughter,
and the stuff with his daughter.
You're right. You're right. Because I got really pissed off recently with there was one show I was watching. I think it's about like some people in a hotel or something.
The White Lotus.
The White Lotus. I got really pissed off with the ending because it was a kind of non-resolution ending. But this show could actually, a non-resolution ending like the one you're talking about, where it's clear that he takes over, but he's lost everything by taking over. He's lost all his kind of connection,
his humanity,
and has become as distant and cynical as his father.
Like he said, the poison drips through.
That then could be interesting, and that would give extra weight to his speech that he gave at the funeral. So I'd be there for that.
And also, he would have gotten away. He would have gotten away with killing the kid.
Extremely miserable. Yeah, exactly. Only if he's extremely miserable and punished for it. Will I accept Kendall taking over? Because I think he's. I was going to say so there's a couple of things we have to, so you have to remind me and keep me on pace here. We have to talk about the death of Logan, what we felt about that, what was our experience during the episode, what was the aftermath of that. And we have to talk about this. This is a central part of this video, is Kendall Roy, hero of for an entitled generation. And I want to talk to you specifically about that, because he in some sense is your guy,
in the show,
and in the show. And I've always thought that the fact that he's resonated so well because of the phenomenal, and I cannot state this enough, as much as I hate the character, the phenomenal performance by Jeremy Strong. Potentially the best performance in the whole show. There are contenders. Kieran Culkin, even Shiv herself has her moments. And definitely Logan Roy, Brian Cox. They're all contenders.
Shiv has to get the Emmy this season.
Kieran. That's another thing we have to talk about. Who should get the Emmy this season? Which really the answer is all of them, but it can't be all of them. Shiv is the only one that you could say, well, all being fair, she can get the Emmy.
I think because Brian Cox was only in 3 episodes, they might make him as a guest actor, so he'll finally get to get one.
He's got one already for the show.
No, I think he got a Golden
Globe. He got
one
for the first season, didn't he?
It was a Golden Globe. I think Jeremy Strong.
He has not got an Emmy for this show. That is crazy.
Yeah, neither is Kieran Culkin or whatever the woman that plays Siobhan. I can't remember her name.
Dude, Kieran Culkin got straight up jacked. That was a robbery.
Oh, he should have won last
They should
season.
have called the fucking police for how much he got jacked by Tom.
Well, also the guy that played
Tom was okay in the last season. Okay,
Yeah.
it's not like but that was his weakest season. He was better in season 2 and 1. Kieran was season 3. Like out of the siblings, it wasn't.
There was a lot of good stuff with Tom though, with the internalization of like I'm going to prison shit. He had some good lines.
Okay. I didn't really care. I hoped he went.
Kieran was so evil in that season though.
Yeah,
he was so delightfully bad.
He was delightfully evil and bad, but then he pulled off this magic trick, which right at the end I felt sorry for him, and I didn't know how it happened. I was all of a sudden I was like, oh my god, like I hope he's all right.
The little boy in him came out.
Yeah, exactly. So it was an incredible transformation, and especially when you saw how he comforted his brother at the end when he finally reveals that he killed this kid.
Well, how does Jeremy Strong not win?
You see,
how did Jeremy Strong not win for that scene for lead actor? The guy from fucking Squid Game won.
Yeah, that was bullshit.
That's bullshit, dude.
That was
political bullshit.
I'm sorry. I'm not usually into those things, but that was some.
It's hard to argue at that point. It's like hype over substance, really. But to what you said about Kendel being, what did you say? The king of the entitled generation.
Hero of an entitled generation. Do you want me to lay out my argument? Like I can lay out why I say that. So, I think people watch this show in the same kind. It's kind of familiar with what I felt about Breaking Bad and Dexter. It's like they're missing the point. And in Dexter, unfortunately, even the writers missed the point that what we are watching is somewhat of a villain. Like in Dexter, he was straight up a villain. In Breaking Bad, it was straight up a villain. And the writers at least acknowledged and knew that this white guy was a villain. But suddenly, because the performance is so strong, because the character's so good, people start rooting for them. But in this particular scenario, it's even more interesting because the scenario is that it's this man-child who has flashes of brilliance every once in a while, who feels for some reason, even though his father has given him everything. I know it's been an abusive relationship, but most people's relationships with their parents is somewhat abusive. I know a lot of people whose relationships with their parents are somewhat abusive, but their parents don't buy them elephants to come to their, birthday parties, and give them, penthouses in New York to live in, and generally just give them a complete safety net for the whole of their life. So this guy, whose father, yes, he's a bad father, but at least he provided for him in some kind of sense. He turns around to this guy who's done everything for him, and he's like, you don't fucking owe me anything. I don't owe you anything. I'm going to take over your company. It's mine to take over. He hasn't worked a day in his life. If he was dropped on the street and had to start from scratch, he wouldn't survive a fucking month, let alone, a year or two, or even develop any kind of extraordinary business.
Well, hold on.
The only reason, sorry, and I'll finish. The only reason that Kendel is anything at all is because of what the empire that his father is built. And I'm not saying that he shouldn't have some kind of resentment to his father for the emotional shit he's put him through. But nonetheless, why people identify him as being, as being on some righteous crusade in the first 2 seasons by frequently just betraying his family is beyond me. I didn't understand it. So
Oh, well, for me, yeah, that was never the reason that I connected with him. I always got from the beginning like, no, this guy is the one that's the most like his father in a lot of ways. He just can't admit it to himself, and the torturous journey that he's going on of like self-destruction and not being able to cope with that reality that he's actually not a good person is like super interesting to me, right? Because it's not a
interesting.
hero's journey. It's a supervillain origin story.
Right.
That's what it
In
really is, you know. And like that's what's happened these last two seasons. Like that moment they had in the with him and Logan in the finale of season 3 where they're at that dinner table might have been the most important moment in the whole show. Because that
oh
was him telling his father, like, I won out, let me out. I can't escape. I'm not you. I'm a good guy. And his father just reality checked him, like, you're not a good person. You know what I mean? And
but
that's
he's
the truth.
also weak. He's not like his father. His father is on a completely different
Well, his
level, and
weakness was
I've always said that I think his father unconsciously did spoil them and did pamper them because he didn't want them to grow up to be a challenge to him, right? So I think on some unconscious or subconscious level, that's why his father pampered them. It's not because of some great deal of love for them, because clearly I think he loves them, but I think as far as a sociopath can love, or a narcissist can love, but he generally kind of made sure that the grounds were set that these children could never compete with him on any kind of
I think
level.
it was more of just the thing of I like the idea that one of them could take over because it's a family business. Because Logan is new money. You know what I mean? He married a British aristocrat, to kind of like further his legitimacy because he created all of this. You know what I mean? He's new money. It's
Well,
not like generations of wealth.
we found out that actually it's not quite that because his uncle was very wealthy. So he
Well,
must have moved to his
he had some
uncle,
money,
and
yeah,
his uncle was very wealthy, and he used that money
but not like
from
the
this big
Pierces,
farm,
right?
right? Like
But
that.
but
Well,
not like
it's
the
the
Pierces
farm's
is what
worth
I'm saying.
$100 million or more
Now it
because the
is.
brother, the brother's like got 200 or
Right,
something
but I'm saying
million.
like the Pierces, where it's like legacy media, where it's been around for generations and
Right.
generations.
Okay,
In
I
a
get
way,
you.
they're kind of new money in the New York, like stock
Yeah.
exchange, cutthroat kind of capitalist world.
He's
He
what Gojo was, but in
Right.
the
Right,
yeah, yeah.
exactly. And so he feels kind of Logan does inferior in that sense. That's why he married Caroline and had the children with her, and that's why Connor is looked at as like lesser because his mom is like someone that went to a mental institution and didn't have any like
Hmm.
spice to her name. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So in
poor
that
Connor.
sense, that's why he gave them all the money and stuff is because it was just like a societal expectation for his business image, I think. You know,
I,
and also
I,
the idea that like, well, I would like one of them to take over someday, but
I,
I don't know how to
I,
emotionally.
I've disagreed with you on this point to the end of time, and I know what Brian Cox has said in interviews and everything like that. And to be fair, now we're never going to find out definitively the answer to that question. Um, but I don't think he wanted any. I think that Logan Roy, in his own mind, now when you say that somebody believes that they are immortal, I don't mean it in the literal sense. I know people have some vague notion, like I certainly have this, right? Maybe other people that don't have it to the degree that I do. I absolutely am petrified of death. I fear it to no end, and I block it out to the extent that I somehow feel like I'm going to be the one person in humanity who cheats it or something like that. Now, if I know it's ridiculous, it's absolutely ridiculous, but I feel like Logan suffers something kind of similar to this. He's
Yes.
aware he's an old man. And this is what made him vulnerable. And even though he was an evil prick, made you sometimes um, empathize with him. Um, he knows he's an old man. He knows he's ill, but he somehow always had this feeling he was going to cheat it. I mean, if you remember back to the first episode, he was going, oh, like Kendall was asking, when are you going to step aside? And he's like, I don't know, 5 years, maybe 10. Like it was delusional.
But what
Given
was the reason that he did that? If you think
his
back on it, because I'm not disagreeing with you. Let me first try to respond to what you're saying about the death thing. Jesse Armstrong straight up said that. He was like, I took that from there was some rich family that wasn't the Murdochs, and then the Murdochs, Rupert Murdoch himself. But both of these patriarchs said the same quote basically, where they said like, "Oh, I don't need a succession plan. I'm gonna live forever." And he's like, oh, Logan has a lot of that in him, right? But he's not totally unaware. And I think that
no one's totally unaware, because otherwise you'd be insane.
like for him,
I
it's
know I'm gonna die. I just don't believe it.
the
Do
battle
you
for
get what I'm
him.
saying? And
Yeah,
that's what I
the
believe
battle
it
for
is with
him
him. He
is
knows he's gonna die because he's a
yeah.
sensible, rational person, and all human beings die, but he doesn't believe it. And therefore, within the near future, he's planning to continue and continue and continue on until he virtually cannot do it, until
But
it's
it's kind of the Sith
literally
thing,
impossible
right?
for him to do it.
It's kind of the
And
Sith.
I don't. That's why I was saying I don't think he ever had in mind any of these children.
Yes, he did. Yes.
I really don't.
Why did he underline?
Why would he
Kendall's
sell it to
name?
Gojo then? Why would he sell the company to Gojo?
Because at that point he had gone through all three of them, season 1, 2, and 3. Each of them had an opportunity, and in some way they showed him that they weren't worthy. Right? It's kind of it's the Sith thing where it's like the rule of two. You have to destroy me to become the master. You know what I'm saying? That's Logan's philosophy. That's why the one time we saw him fucking smile at anything his kids did was when Kendall looked right into that TV camera and said, "Today his reign ends," and betrayed him. You know what I mean? It made him smile.
Again, one, I don't take necessarily what the actors say about their own motivations as seriously as, that might be what he felt that was.
But why did he smile?
The way I interpret that is that it was like, game on. All right, game on. He loves to fight. Logan is a man who loves to fight. He loves to be in the mud with the knife, and like fighting over that knife in the mud. This is his. He gets such sincere pleasure because he wins every time. And so he saw that as a fucking challenge. How am I going to get out of this one? Right? And then the clock started going, and he was 10 moves ahead of everyone.
But the reason that you're wrong on that,
I started off this show, and I'll let you go. I started off this show thinking, I don't think Logan Roy is that clever. I think most of the time he just gets his way through luck,
and
like
bullying.
And bullying, like basically Kendall runs over some kid. If Kendall hadn't run over that kid, he would have been done. He would have been dust, right? So I didn't think he was like some brilliant mastermind. But then as season 3 came along, I was like, this guy's a brilliant fucking mastermind. He thinks like 20 moves ahead, and he will squirm his way out of everything, and he loves to do that. He loves that challenge.
No, he likes the fight. He likes the fight for the knife in the mud. He does, but he doesn't like being in the position that Kendall put him in at the end of season 2, because you see at the very beginning of season 3, Logan is more scared and panicky than he's ever been. He's anything but enjoyable. He's saying, we'll go full fucking beast. I'm going to have to go to Singapore to avoid extradition back to the U.S. The FBI is raiding me. Like, he's as unhappy as we've ever seen him. I don't think he enjoys any of that. I think the reason he smiled is because for one of the few times ever, he was proud of one of his kids. Because
that's why be proud of him? Because it was a stupid move.
Because you have to be a killer. He told him that.
I know you have to be a killer, but the move was stupid. It could have capsized the whole fucking company. It wasn't a clever move. That's what I never understood about people going, "Oh, what a boss move by Kendall."
It was the instinct.
Dad under the bus. If you throw the dad under the bus, they could have had a nosedive in terms of.
But if Kendall didn't do that, if Kendall didn't do that,
they would have been dust. They would have been nothing.
Let's assume for a second that I'm right. Just for a second, just to play devil's advocate. And there is some part of Logan that meant what he said when he said, "You're my number one boy." that meant what he said when he said, I want one of the kids to take over, right? If that's
Mm.
true, when he was ready to put Kendel in prison, that at the end of season 2, that ruins the chance of him ever becoming CEO once he goes
Right.
to prison and that whole thing. So even though that wasn't the best business move, it was Kendall's best move on the chessboard. And that's why he smiled. That's why he was proud, because he didn't let his father destroy him in that moment. He stood up for himself and said, I'm going to fight fucking back. I'm going to do what you would do. I'm going to eat you alive. I'm going to eat your lunch. And that's what he
Right.
likes. That's the fight for the knife in the mud. It's the power dynamics, right? Because like you were
Right.
saying, it's not so much business, it's more power. That's what Logan is about.
Right. So he smiled because he thought Kendall made like some kind of good move. But subsequently, that move, if you look at all of season 3, was complete trash. All okay, he saved himself. I'll give him that. He saved himself so that one day he might become CEO. But in terms of the execution of that move,
Oh yeah, later
and
on.
what he had, he basically was reminding me, and I was so glad. I was smiling every episode because I was like, finally these fucking idiots, sorry, I'm gonna
Oh, he
see
self-destructed in season 3.
who Kendall is,
Yeah.
and what he stands for, and that he's basically like David Brent from The Office.
But before
That's
he
that's
but,
that's what I
but
saw
Nerdman,
him as. He's
before he
a
before he
narcissistic, delusional.
no, for sure.
Thinks he's brilliant because he's been raised by his
But
rich daddy
before he
and
fumbled the bag
sheltered
on all
from
that,
anything.
before he made all those mistakes in season 3, in that moment where he pulled that move of today his reign ends and looked into the camera, Logan saw a glimpse of what he was capable of in that moment before he
Mm.
flubbered it. That's why
So
later on he sells to Gojo, because he's like, none of these fuckers can do it. Roman with his dick pics and his sex addiction. Shiv doesn't really understand the business, and I can't trust her. Kendall, I think I see something in him, but then he
sex
fucks it up.
addiction. I mean, sex. Anyway, I disagree with you on Roman. We're gonna have to talk about Roman later, but
Oh,
so
the
not
dick
a
pics
good
ruined it.
move, but anymore. What do you mean by that, WC? He was happy that his son had some balls, stupid as he is.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
what I think. I mean,
Well, that's what I'm trying to say.
sure, but I don't think he was even happy. Like, I get what you're saying, WC, but I think he wasn't even that happy that he had balls. Because if you look at the next episode, he fucking hated him. He despised him for what he'd done. And he opened the company up to all kinds of shit. The fact is, Logan would have sorted him out anyway. Like if he had have done jail time, he's not doing real fucking jail time. He's doing fucking
But he could have never been CEO.
Jeffrey. He's doing Jeffrey Epstein fucking jail time when
But he could have never been CEO, though, and that's the point. That's the
dude,
important part of it.
but he would have been looked after, and that's what he needs to be.
Sure,
He
but
is a
Logan
son.
doesn't want him to just be a
He is a
spoiled rich kid like you were
son.
talking about.
That's exactly what Logan wants, because Logan
No.
made them that way, and he made them that way
But he
on
resents them
purpose.
for that. That was his failure. He resents them for
Of
that.
course, he resents them for that, because look at where he came from. He was on a boat.
But he
He
didn't
was on a
mean to
boat
do
in
it.
the middle of
Sure.
wherever,
World War II.
in World War II, having to keep quiet for several days, because if he didn't, he'd get
Do you remember
shot
when they had
down.
the
None
family
of his
therapy?
children have even come close to an experience like that, killing their sister.
Do you remember the family
because
therapy
of-
episode where Kendall got drunk and they were having the family therapy, and then they had that argument in the kitchen at Connor's?
Mhm.
Kendall tells him, he's like, you resent us so much because you gave us everything and you didn't have it. And I realized that I'm lucky, right? And Logan, that was his only way. He didn't give that stuff to them to make them weak. That's the only thing he could do. That was his way of showing love, because he didn't have any emotional or sociological like capabilities. All he could do was throw money at the problem. And he spoiled them not because he wanted them to be weak. He just did it because it was the easy way to avoid them. Give them money, let the nanny raise them. I got to work. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think it was a genius chess move.
I'll tell you what. I think the show can be interpreted in either way. To be fair to you, I'm not trying to say that I'm right. I think that you can you can interpret the show really as either of those things happening. But I wanted to get back to this kind of
Well, can I
entitled
bring
thing
one more thing up quick?
before I go on to Ewan's speech,
Yeah,
which
can I
was the
bring one thing
single
up there, man?
greatest speech in TV history.
Because
or
I've
whatever.
been thinking a lot about this, all the
Mhm.
stuff we're talking about right now. There was an important scene in season 3 that made me change my mind about what Logan really thinks beneath the surface, because you don't really know what he really thinks most of the time.
Right.
He
No.
just does what he needs to do to make shit happen on the chessboard. But there's an important scene when they're at that with Adrian Brody, the Josh character, and he's with Kendall, and they're in the midst of this fighting about the stuff with the FBI and the sexual assault and everything that happened in season 2. But they
Again,
have to get
brilliant
together.
performance by Cox.
Brilliant. But there's this moment where you see what Logan really feels through the camera work, through the unsaid, where they're at that table, and he says that shit about Kendall to Josh. He's like, "What if I told you he's the best one of all of them? He's a good kid, and he's the best one of all of them." And then there's this awkward silence, and you see him looking down, unable to look Kendall in the eyes, because what he said was actually true, and he doesn't want to deal with his emotions in that moment. And it's a very important scene, and I think that says a lot about him.
Oh, I once again very different interpretation, because I was like, I believed him when he said he's a good kid. He's a good kid. I bought it, and then I realized just moments later when he's denigrating him and calling him a piece of shit that you're never gonna get my fucking company, right?
But that's
And
all
you
part of the
see,
game.
and you see, this motherfucker played us. He's so good he can even play us, the audience, into believing his bullshit. That's what Shiv was talking about in her funeral speech, where she basically says when he gave us his grace, it was like the sun shining upon us. Right? This is a brilliant portrayal of a pure sociopath who is able, to say anything he needs to get people on side in a moment. And then he shows his viciousness, which is his real fucking nature, is that viciousness. And that viciousness was born out of terrible years of trauma that he's not been able to, that he hasn't processed, which is his sister's death, everything that happened to him in the war.
I agree with everything you're
All
saying.
of
It's
that.
just the fact that it lingers in the way that it did. If you really watch that scene, there's
You think
something.
he's telling the truth? I don't think so.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
they're
he was
leaving
telling
it. I think they're leaving it up to your perception of it. That's
Yeah.
another great thing about the show. So I don't think either of us are wrong, but I took from it, nope, we're dealing with a fucking sociopath. This is a class A narcissist here. So I wanted to go back just quickly over season 4, the episode. So I started off with the monsters. Wasn't really, I thought it was okay. Then I don't know what you felt of the monsters. You can give a quick one word because I want to get to this funeral.
When I
And
watched it,
then
I was worried.
you were worried. Okay, yeah, me too. The rehearsal, I'm not sure how much I remember of this. While Kendall, Shiv, and Roman consider an aggressive play on the Matson deal, Connor tries to make the most of his rehearsal dinner.
That's where they go to the
I don't
karaoke
even
bar.
remember that episode.
It's the
Yeah, they
last
go to,
conversation they have with their father, where he tells them they're not serious people.
which is funny because this goes to your theory. Kendall told Roman that he's not a serious person in the first season in the hospital.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
if, in terms of him mirroring his dad, so it goes to your theory. So I remember this being a one scene episode for me. Like a one scene episode, and this is going to be something that comes up a lot in these episodes recently. That the whole episode's kind of like meh, but it ends on just this really big high note of just brilliant acting by every single one of them. Has had a brilliant performance this
You're saying that
season.
about rehearsal?
Yeah, rehearsal, where the brilliant performance is just when the karaoke bar, Connor kills it in that scene. So does Logan. Coming in, talking to his children, trying to say, I'm sorry, actually. And it was very confusing because I thought that was really against character. I didn't really understand that, like him coming in and like really being apologetic for what he did at the end of season 3. So it was interesting. It was like a different shade of Logan. Like he
The
does
scene with
have
him and the
some.
bodyguard at the diner was pretty good when he was like contemplating death and stuff.
Right, exactly, as well. All of that was really good stuff. But in general, I don't even remember it that much. It was
It's
very
a B
meh.
episode. It's a B on a scale all the
Yeah.
way to A.
Mm. So Connor's wedding is a fantastic episode.
One of the best
Uh,
episodes of TV ever made.
9.9, completely understand it. There's no doubt in my
I
mind.
was
But
actually shocked.
truly, I thought it was a joke. I genuinely thought that at the end of the episode, I think about 15 minutes into so in this episode, it's Logan dies. Like, spoilers, guys. Logan, my favorite character on the show. I think, not that I like him, I still think he's a piece of shit. But if anything, I was like, I'm okay with him just being, it's Succession, and he's the one who succeeds himself, because these kids are fucking, they don't deserve anything. So he dies in this episode, and it means so much gets unresolved, right? Like the feelings of the siblings towards him, and that's what I loved about it at the time. I thought it was a perfect ending to his arc, because there is no way realistically that you could resolve any of the issues he has with his siblings. There's just
Also,
not.
one of the most realistic depictions of a death that I've ever seen. Probably the
Right,
most realistic.
where it just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, and then it's just over.
Devastated, and I thought, wow, Sarah Snook in that episode, when she finds out about the dad's death.
Yeah, MVP of that episode.
Incredible performance. Is he dead? Oh,
dude, when she said like daddy, like almost like a little kid, that actually made me like tear up and stuff. It was incredible.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was an incredible showing for her. And again, if she doesn't get the Emmy, that's bullshit. I think much like internally to the show, Sarah Snook is underappreciated for what she does. She has perfect chemistry with almost everyone in the show, specifically Tom and Roman. I love all the scenes with her and Roman going back and forth. But she also brings a quiet emotion to this character, and a facial, acting, where you delve much deeper into the soul of the character than say them giving some great speech or something like that. And she never really knows what to say. If you notice, like the way they write her dialogue, she never quite knows exactly what to say. She's always putting her foot in her mouth. But in terms of the whole episode, man, like, yeah, it was one of the, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I literally couldn't believe it. I thought, okay, this is one of Logan's tricks or something like that. And it wasn't until like 10 minutes into him still not breathing and then, giving him CPR that I was like, holy shit, he's dead. He's
very rare that something surprises me anymore, the way that like media is set up now with spoilers and stuff. And also just a lot of times when they subvert your expectations, it's like Game of Thrones, where it's unnecessary and actually bad for the story. This just nailed everything. It just nailed everything.
Yeah. I mean, it could have been the final episode, honestly.
Oh, you would like that, wouldn't you?
No, it could have been.
You can't stand that Logan's not going to be on top, bro.
No, I can't. It's bullshit. It's his company. He made it from the ground up as much of a disaster of a company.
Well, here's a quick question for you.
I would rather him stay CEO and go to jail. That would be my ultimate outcome, and then the company just burns to the ground without him there.
Do you think if he knew that he was like, say that he can see from outside of himself, right, and he's in the afterlife or whatever, he sees what's going on. Do you think that Logan, knowing that he was going to die, would have still wanted Mattson to do it, or if he knew the kids had a chance to take it, would he want it to stay in the family, like what Kendall's trying to do?
I think he would have wanted it. I think at that point he would have wanted it to go to the kids.
That's what I think.
At that point, not before.
No,
you know
I
what
agree.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
But he's dead now, and it's like, okay, well, at least that's my DNA. you know, being like, So, what were we talking about? Like, the emotion that I got was like, this is a really, really fucking bold move. And then I'm gonna go to the next episode. Immediately upon the next episode, I thought it might be a mistake. So the next episode was, let's see, let me try to remind myself exactly what it was. Honeymoon states, as the Waystar team discusses a pivotal recommendation to the board, Roman, Kendel, and Shiv navigate a misstep with Mattson. Oh, no, this was a good episode. Yes. Sorry. This was a good episode. Still a bit like, I found something, I don't know if you're getting this vibe as well. Like, some of the dialogue just doesn't, it seems a bit wonky. It seems a bit like, oh, we're trying to do Succession dialogue.
I just think it's that they're just lacking some of the humor because it's like Logan's dead and everyone's not as, that's what I think it is. It's just not as funny.
And especially with Tom as well. Tom is like the one that I'm just like,
well, Tom's kind of, it's weird how they've written him because it's like he's just been reduced down to like, I like money and I'm tired all the time.
Right, yeah. He doesn't
strange.
Seem essential. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, he and
Greg is even worse. They just don't seem essential. It's just get out of the way and let the three siblings work. Because I
agree with that.
Are just, if they don't get like movie careers or acting careers out of this is bullshit, because they are all three of them fantastic. You know, to hold up the show in the absence of the great, Brian Cox is remarkable. As far as I'm concerned.
Well, Tom is the villain.
Any problems I have with the show from now on is not with those three siblings. It's more with the writing, and just like it's almost like the tempo of the show, as you said, because it's got a lot darker. The tempo of the show is, it's like dour, and then right at the end you get like this high point. It's not necessarily like a positive high point, but it's just like a bit
dramatic
of like acting that just blows your socks off.
I thought episode 4 though was a genuinely good episode. Like, that wasn't the one that I had problems with.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, beginning to end, it was a good episode.
Yeah. So then we got Kill List, and I want to talk about what's his name, Alexander Skarsgård, for a moment here. This guy came in to this show, and I was so excited. I thought, wow, what a performance, to just stand there in front of Logan and just be on his level. You know what I'm saying? Like, not feel like, and not like in a carbon copy way, but in his own way, have that same kind of stature, as Logan, was brilliant. I've just found him really, he's trying. God bless Alexander Skarsgård. He's trying, but what they're giving him, he's just not a compelling character anymore.
Oh, really? I was just telling Pickle the other night.
Season 3. Mm-hmm.
Well, I think he may have had better dialogue at moments in season 3, but the dynamic of what he was doing was a little different. So, but I'm really impressed by the fact that, like, how famous he is outside of Brian Cox. He's the most famous person that's been in this show in terms of like celebrity, and I'm very impressed with how he's just blended in. I think he's been good. I just think that this was his best episode. because he got to be like a real dick, and we got to see the most about him in this episode. He just hasn't had a lot to do since this episode, really.
Yeah, I think he fared better in this episode than any other episode that I've seen him in, because he was in a few of these episodes with what he was working with Shiv. I think even before, wasn't he working? No, he started working with Shiv after. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, at the end. Yeah,
but he was in a few. He was in a few of these episodes before. I'm pretty sure. But this was the best one. But still, it wasn't quite at that level of when he first meets Logan, or in that party where he goes, when's your dad gonna die? To Roman. And so, yeah, it's not like he's terrible. Nothing in this show is terrible. It's just I'm comparing it to what it was before, and again, it just doesn't. It seems like
that he's fake,
it seems like
now.
It doesn't seem like things that a real person would say. It seems like things that they feel a cool Succession character would say. Right? That's what like, oh, what would be a cool line for Tom to like bang out right now? Like, as opposed to genuinely fucking witty, banter and one-liners. So I have that kind of problem with him.
I don't feel that the writing's changed that much in terms of like dialogue and stuff, how people are interacting.
I would like to go through some of the lines that he's said recently. Although, again, there's moments, because I like that conversation he had with Shiv about giving the woman blood, for instance.
Well, that's what I was going to say, is that maybe the reason you don't like him as much this season is because you realize that boisterous kind of bravado that he was putting on that front. You start to realize, like, oh, he's not any more capable than anyone else. Like, he's a flawed egomaniac billionaire too.
Maybe that's it.
And he's like the tech nerds incel version.
Yeah, he seemed above all that, but
right. But it was fake kind of bravado,
Yeah. So he's out of the Emmys for me, anyway. I don't, I mean, like, guest star, sure, but like, I think he's going to be nominated, definitely, but I don't think I don't know. I haven't been watching that many other shows, but I'm sure there's going to be a better performance than.
Well, he'll be supporting actor, so he'll have to go up against probably. I know Kieran and Jeremy Strong will both be lead
actors, yeah.
But he won't win. He won't win for supporting actor. It's just not, it's just not worthy, in my opinion.
No, I don't think it's worthy at all. Whereas last season he was worthy.
Yeah, I think he might have even won guest actor, or he was at least.
Oh, nominated. Did
he? Yeah.
Did he? Because he was brilliant last season. So anyway,
this next episode is the worst.
Absolutely, complete waste of time. Living Plus. They should have gone straight from this to the election stuff.
The only good part of this was, like you said, there was that one scene at the end that made it all worth it, where Kendel kind of baptized himself in a way in that ocean after he had finally. When you expect him to fuck up, he didn't, and then he went and kind of like got his moment in the water.
But even this supposed non-fuck up that he did with the presentation, I wasn't that impressed by the presentation. I don't know if I was supposed to be, but it didn't seem like this runaway success. I thought the idea sounded pretty.
It wasn't Steve Jobs with Apple. It was just the fact that Kendel didn't self-implode, I think.
Right, and everyone was expecting it to start, but it didn't. If he had have done something like what he did at the funeral. Now, that speech at the funeral was something else, and we're gonna react to those funeral speeches if you don't mind.
Sure. Tailgate party. This one was a bit of what you were saying too, about held up by a few, not one great, but like two or three great moments. Now that fight with Shiv and Tom on the balcony, epic.
Very
fucking
good.
Some of the best shit they've ever done in the show. But the episode
Tom
overall
was back on form as well in that.
Yes.
And finally, in that.
And there was the thing with Kendel and Mattson when they were arguing was pretty good, and the part with Greg hanging out with Mattson was not bad, but it was a step up from Living Plus, but it was kind of in that these middle 3 episodes right here, Tailgate Party, Living Plus, and the one in Sweden, are
Yeah.
kind of the weakest episodes.
Yeah, I feel like you could have just gone straight from the not Connor's wedding, honeymoon states, and you could have like it felt like they were just trying to set up things for this election night, as opposed to actually them being episodes in themselves worthy. Oh, and one thing we forgot to talk about in the kill list is again, my boy Kieran Culkin has to get the fucking Emmy, dude. He has to. There's no fucking doubt in my mind. When he has that exchange with Madison at the end of the episode, again, it was that, you know, flowing through to the really dramatic explosion at the end of the episode, which they've been doing which they did maybe a little bit better in the kill list, but which they did for these 4 episodes that we've talked about, which were the weaker episodes, where there was just this really great dramatic moment at the end. But his exchange with Madison, where he's like, I hate you and blah, blah, blah. And then he pulls the deal, essentially. He's the one who gets the great deal. I thought was absolutely fantastic.
Although his best acting came in this last episode, and we'll talk about that. But that moment when that happened, I told Pickle, I was like, all right, he might beat Jeremy Strong because he's in lead actor category this year.
What does this mean?
Just trolling. Yeah, Kieran Culkin's in lead actor this year with Jeremy Strong, but he might beat him for what happened with that funeral episode.
That's a difficult one because honestly, Kendel kind of killed it with that speech.
I know, but when Kieran Culkin, when he broke down, that was the best thing I've ever seen him do in the show.
Oh, I still think his
acting wise,
his Emmy moment was he's had many this season, but his Emmy moment for me was the exchange he had with Madison. That just that explosion of emotion that he had with him was really great. Although the funeral, we're going to react to those moments just in a second. So yeah, where were we at? We were at
Tailgate Party, and now we're on
Tailgate Party. America Decides, fantastic episode.
Yes, I agree. This was a fucking awesome episode. I watched this 3 times. This, I mean, as an American, you know, I know a little bit about, you know, what they were going for here in terms of real world illusions. But I didn't really care that much about all of that. Like, to me, it was just about, this is the episode where you get to see everyone how much of a piece of shit they are in their own little way. Greg giving up the information about Shiv and Mattson to Kendel just to kind of piss her off for what she, you know, intimidated him early in the episode. Tom just being, you know, kind of subservient to Kendel and Roman, what they're willing to do. Kendel throw his kids under the bus to have power. You know, Roman just being lunatic like he is. Shiv pretending that she cares about democracy but willing to try to not talk to the Democrats when she could have, which kind of in a way facilitated all of this if you think about it, because you know, so
they had have talked to them and reached out to them, then maybe, you know, Kendel would have gone the other way.
Right. So in this episode, this was the darkest episode, but also one of the best episodes. I loved it.
Absolutely fantastic. And Roman was on top form. You know, with the kind of mocking and berating of his sister's feelings was incredible. Yeah. And it's always so funny when I'm like, oh man, they hate each other now, and then you see the next episode and they're like kind of slightly trying to simulate what they think is love and what they think is support for each other, and they went straight from that to the funeral where they were like really supportive of each other in some ways. So that was interesting, and it was a great episode. And then Church and State.
Yes,
you're talking about one of the most fantastic episodes of TV that have been done. I mean,
this one in episode 3 for sure.
Let's just throw it out there. So to me, they saved the season, but all in all, from season 1 to 3, there was only one weak episode, in my opinion. Season 1 to 3 was just exceptional, and you're right, it's because of the humor and the comedy was sharp and it was less dark and all of the things that you've said, which have made me kind of rethink.
Well, the middle 3 episodes of last season,
my feelings towards this, but I was genuinely worried that Brian Cox not being on this show was a mistake. Like, for a few episodes, I was like, well, there you go. This is why you need fucking Brian Cox, because he centers everything, and his performance is so magnetic. Usually, that you can kind of forgive some of the weaker aspects of the show. Like, Greg was really a weak aspect in season 3, but because Brian Cox was firing on all cylinders in that, it was just and then you've got the 3 siblings who are also brilliant actors, but I just felt like they maybe they can't hold this show up until I saw the last 2 episodes.
Yeah, these last 2 episodes were great. This one was incredible. I probably watched this one 2 or 3 times as well. There's a lot of moments. I mean, a lot of moments. And a lot of it is subtle too. It's not all just the speeches and the obvious stuff. Some of it is like just like the look Ewan gives Kendel when he sits back down. There's so many things happening with all these people at this funeral and all these power dynamics and emotional dynamics. It's fucking brilliant, man.
Yeah. So we are going to talk about who gave the best speech.
Oh yeah,
who gave the best speech? So we're going to watch.
It is not for me to judge.
We're going to watch a few moments from each of the speeches. So we'll start with Ewan, and this guy is one of my favorite. He's probably my favorite character in terms of liking him plus performance. But anyway,
I like him a lot.
That if we spoke or coughed or moved an inch, that the U-boats would catch the vibrations through the hull and we would die in the drink right there in the hold. 3 nights and 2 days, we stayed quiet. A 4-year-old and a 5.5-year-old speaking with our eyes.
Wow. And then there's one bit of the speech that I have to forward to because I don't want to get cut off. Let me get to it.
I don't even know if that's true. But our aunt and uncle certainly did nothing to disabuse him of that notion. They let it lie with him. I loved him, I suppose. And I suppose some of you did too, in whatever way he would let us and we could manage.
Oh, the scene with the wife.
I can't help but say.
The scene with all the wives, that was fucking great. But anyway.
Awesome.
He has wrought the most terrible things. He was a man who has, here and there, drawn in the edges of the world, now and then darkened the skies a little, closed men's hearts, fed that dark flame in men, the hard, mean, hard relenting flame that keeps their hearths warm while another grows cold, their grain stashed while another goes hungry, and even has the temerity.
Just wow, that is pure poetry, man. Like this guy, what's his name? Jesse Armstrong.
James. The writer.
Yeah, I mean, what do you do with like a fucking speech like this? It's like he wrote it and put it through Chat GPT or something. I don't know, man. Like, how the fuck do you write that?
I don't think Chat GPT could have come up with that, baby. That was purely human, baby.
That was
Yeah.
fucking
This episode is
outrageously good.
incredible, dude. When they get into the actual funeral, it's some of the best shit ever. Like the amount of stuff they're juggling, emotion wise, character wise, power dynamics. There's so much shit happening. Speeches and these children processing who their father was and personal character growth. I mean, it's fucking insane, dude. It's such an
Oh,
achievement.
it's an insane episode, and it needs to get this episode, not the Logan death episode. As good as that was fantastic, but this is the episode that needs to get the Emmy, dude.
You think
If
so?
they're gonna put forward their strongest episode of the season, I don't know how they can match this. Like, if they match this episode in the next episode and it ends and in some kind of way that kind of is satisfying, if they do that, this is going to go down as the best show, at least since Breaking Bad, if not potentially a little bit better than Breaking Bad.
Sopranos.
Yeah, or Sopranos or something like this. This is fantastic stuff.
I agree.
And then the siblings had their chance. So we'll talk about who gave the best speech once we look at a little bit of the siblings. Should we go to Roman?
Sure. He doesn't give much of a speech.
He doesn't give much of a speech, but what he does, oh boy.
His character arc is confusing me more than anyone's, I think.
Yep, I think so. I don't. It is because he's out of the running now. It feels
like everything is just like it's one blow up after the other. And what's a bigger blow up than this? Like, where does that end in the finale? Is he gonna die or something?
Wait. We have to go back a little bit.
Yeah, sorry.
No, not you. I
think he might. I think he might kill himself, man.
I don't know what's going to happen to him. So, by the way, guys, this was right after the speech we saw.
And also, the episode starts with him being so confident that he's going to nail this.
Yeah.
So I can't do it. I actually can't do it. I can't. I tried to think. Just take a breath. It's okay. Just take it. Is he in there? Yeah. Get him out.
Oh man, look at this fucking acting right here.
Yeah, this is Emmy.
It's okay.
Because I used to think, there was a point in Succession where I was like, dude, no one can touch Kieran Culkin in terms of the comedy. But I actually thought genuinely he might be the weakest actor out of the three siblings. Like, I thought he's the best comedy actor, because being a comedy actor is a little bit different from being a dramatic actor.
Well, yeah, he was
right?
one note, very one note.
Yeah, he was very one note for the first two seasons. It was a brilliant note. it was like the best note ever, but it was one note. But he has just raised the bar. In terms of acting in the last two seasons, that he's almost my favorite performance out of the three of them. Yeah, I mean, Shiv, it's hard to say. It's like it kind of revolves around and around, I appreciate Jeremy Strong, because I've seen him in other roles and I see that he's really a method actor, and it's not like, maybe this might be the closest, in terms of his tempo of speaking and whatever, to who he is in real life. But nonetheless, he can really transform into anything. I saw him in a film, actually, Jeremy Strong. It was the one about the Black Panthers, like, court case.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I saw him in that film, and I swear to God, I did not know it was him until like half.
He's like a hippie or something.
Yeah, like I was like, he disappeared. You
Well, you remember
know,
that really bad movie, The Happening by M. Night Shyamalan,
oh yeah.
where the
He's
plants are like killing people? He's the like soldier, like the redneck soldier that's like in it for like 20 minutes. And Pickle showed me that the other night. I couldn't believe it, like how different he seemed in that movie to this.
right. So that's why I kind of like put his performance a little bit, like it's because he's an actor's actor, whereas I think Kieran Culkin is more of a comedy actor, but who has some serious fucking dramatic chops. But yeah, another thing that I loved in this episode is just his unwanted flirtations with his sister.
Oh yeah, that was
the first line he comes out. I mean, it's great writing as opposed to his delivery is great as well. But like, the sister goes, "I'm pregnant," and he's like, "Is it mine?"
yeah. He really went
He
to
is,
like all of his familiar kind of bad habits in this episode, and then the false bravado at the beginning, the
yeah.
sex jokes, and then just melts down. It's like classic Roman.
Hey, how is Yellowstone? Tell us about.
Oh,
Let us know. I
dude,
watched Yellowstone. Tell it. It was too much. There was a scene with the brother and the sister hating each other. It was too much.
it's
Oh,
like comparing
I've.
Kobe beef to dog food, man. Like,
Oh, it's not good.
dude, not to me personally, but I mean,
Oh,
maybe you
okay.
would enjoy it. It's a cowboy
I
reductionist
don't like
version of.
cowboys.
It's cowboys fighting over their land
All
that they
right.
own. I can't even compare it to this show. Like it leaps and bounds below this.
Okay. I
That's
mean,
just me.
the only reason I'm interested in it slightly is because of Kevin Costner, and
Well, you remember
I
that
really
old
like him.
show? That old show, Dallas.
He says Yellowstone is better in my opinion. And triples the viewing figures. So there you go. Yeah, Dallas. Yeah, I remember it.
It's kind of like for that crowd, in my opinion. Like I know a
Oh,
lot of
okay.
people that live here in Texas that are like family members that are older and stuff that watch Yellowstone. If that gives you any kind of indication of like what kind of show it is. Not trying to disparage anybody that enjoys it, but my family, they're not watching Succession. So,
Mm,
I'm just saying it appeals to a broader audience probably because it's kind of got like this I don't know what the right
mhm,
word is, kind of a rural
mm,
it's on Paramount Plus, which is kind of like has the Stallone show. It's trying to go like more middle ground, not like too political or anything like that. It
yeah.
tries to appeal to like everybody,
Right. So, I'm not gonna watch it because I don't like cowboys. I just can't. I can't
I
get it.
don't like Kevin I
As
don't like
soon as
Kevin Costner.
I like Kevin Costner a lot. I think he's really great, but like
Paul Kent.
cowboys just don't. His Kent is leaves a lot to be desired, but apart from that, that wasn't really his fault though, so I'll give him that. So then we have Kendall's speech. We can start it somewhere here, I think.
Lives.
And I'll tell you what I was
And the thing.
thinking when watching that. I was like, all right, fucking, because I hate Kendall, you know,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, even though I appreciate Jeremy Strong, he's such a good actor that it makes me kind of like not root for him to do. So I was like, all right, fucking beat that, like
Right.
beat Ewan and beat fucking Kieran Culkin's performance. Go. Well, our boy
And
Kendall.
usually in past seasons he wouldn't have,
Yeah, well, our boy Kendall.
That he made.
Never count him out.
And the money. Yeah, the money. The lifeblood, the oxygen of this wonderful civilization that we have built from the mud. The money, the corpuscles of life gushing around this nation, this world, filling men and women all around with desire, quickening the ambition to own and make and trade and profit and build and improve. I mean, great geysers of life he willed, of buildings he made stand. of ships, steel hulls, amusements, newspapers, shows, and films, and life.
Goddamn right.
Bloody, complicated life.
God damn is quite right. I think that's what you said.
Yep.
What do you do with that? Fucking give him the Emmy. I mean, I don't know what to do. You've got the same guy, the two guys, and Kieran Culkin should have just gone for the fucking other.
I think this is
Because
very.
they all deserve a fucking Emmy, and it's wrong.
Not only is it
just-
good, but all three of their speeches really show a lot about their characters. With
right.
Logan reverting back to the little boy, Shiv kind of having the mixed feelings and the weird stuff with like, you know, when the light's shown, it was great, but it was hard being a woman, and it shows her place and all of this. And then Kendel,
we'll go to Shiv now. So let's not.
well, real quickly about Kendel, what's great about that is also it reminds me a lot of that moment when they're in the congressional hearings, and he kind of busts out that win moment that he has with the Gil Evis, where he kind of says like, we can take it, and this is what the company's really about, and he defends them. There's this part of Kendel that wants to be better than his father, but really he's the most like him in terms of like aligning with the, yeah, I get that I'm not exactly on board with everything politically, but I'm a pragmatic, like bloodthirsty capitalist at the end of the day. Like as long as the buildings get put up and the checks get cashed, that is what life is really about. It's all transactional. It's all economic units, like Logan said. And that's kind of what that speech was saying. He was like, my father, I'm not saying he was a good man. I'm saying that the sum of his parts, right?
He you know, and he acted in the world rather than being kind of stagnant, and that's something I kind of appreciate, you know, in terms of that character, which is why, although I loathed what he had built, one had to kind of respect the tenacity to nonetheless kind of just be and act as Kendall was saying. I do call bullshit though, because he knew what the world and what human beings, you know, were like in one sense. He knew their despair, he knew their fear, he knew their sense of anger and rage from their own inadequacies, and he played upon that. And it's the same way that, you know, channels like Fox News play upon this and divide people unnecessarily, and as Ewan said, wrought these awful you know, realities onto the world, and
feed that thing that's a seed and turn it into like more. They water it, you know.
Right. It's basic Nazism 101, you know, like, hey, Hitler was a great psychologist. There's no doubt about it, you know, but that doesn't excuse because, you know, the basest psychology of human beings, because there are other people who know other aspects of our psyche who are able to, you know, galvanize and use their qualities and abilities to bring out those beautiful sides of human beings. So I don't give the excuse there that you know, as eloquently as it was put, that Kendall is giving right now, and I don't even think he believes it, to be honest. I think he's just there trying to salvage something, and
I think his argument is kind of
show that he's a man who can, you know, run the company in a sense, you know, like.
I think that's part of it. I think it's also the thing that a lot of billionaires, when people criticize them in this country, say. I'll exclude Elon Musk because of the things he does for like the planet and stuff, regardless of his politics. But like people like Rupert Murdoch or like venture capitalists, when people like criticize them, you'll often hear them say like, "You don't know what it takes to build this," and you know, you don't really understand what it's like. They do think differently, even if it's wrong, how they go about it. Like you were saying, what it takes to become that is I don't know.
It's remarkable, and it's not. It is inspiring in some sense. Even the worst people are kind of inspiring in that sense of, wow, like you believed in something. It could be a terrible thing. It could be anyone from Martin Luther King, who was great, to the worst person like Hitler. But the fact that you believed in something and you believed it with such passion that you could make it a reality is admirable.
well, also the thing about
Because we all believe something. I believe something, but I don't
Right.
know how to make that a reality. I do my best, but I don't perhaps possess the belief. I think because I'm very charismatic, so it's not.
But also like the capitalist part of it. The capitalist part of it, like in a way, being someone like this in my country is kind of the ultimate success story, right? Like
Mhm.
we all see the flaws in capitalism and we all see the inequality and the whatever, right? And this show does a good job of deconstructing that and satirizing it and examining it in a different way than a lot of stuff does. But at the end of the day, there is kind of a hypocrisy when a lot of people say that this isn't what they want. You know what I mean? They try to be good people, but it's like that thing
I
at the
don't
wedding.
want this. I
No,
don't want this.
not you, but I'm talking
No,
about like
I'm just saying that I think there are genuinely a lot of people who, because that's what is always thrown in someone's face, like, oh, you really, ultimately, you would really like, if you could be rich just by owning Fox News, you'd do it. You know what I mean?
most people
And
would.
like, yeah,
Yeah,
I
they
mean,
would. They would.
I so you'd have to assume that you would have no power to change things, right? That would be the
Yeah,
thought
you had to keep it
experiment.
running it the way it was.
You had to keep it running exactly how it is, or worse. Or no, exactly the way it is, right?
But as long as the check's clear.
Would you take that opportunity um to do that? Now, my thing is, I think everybody would, including myself. The only thing that would happen is, I think within days I'd be miserable, and I'd want to take it back. Um, I really do believe that. I would. The only way for me to be in that position of being that person would be, I would have to completely lose myself in inebriation and check out of reality, and just let other people run it. I could not personally be the person who puts somebody on TV who's, belittling, like someone like fucking Candace Owens or something like that, like parading her around TV as if she's has any kind of substance, or intellectual prowess to be a voice that is influential in society. I couldn't do it. So maybe you just find me at the bar all the time, or just going on holidays, getting drunk out of my face, and then I'd be dead within 10 years from fucking alcohol and drug, like fucking poisoning or whatever. It's like the quote goes, like I think uh, drugs and suicide. What is it? Drugs and suicide. No, depression and suicide took some. No, sorry. Depression and alcohol took some. Suicide was the one that took the rest. And so, yeah, I completely butchered the quote, but it's like from Waking Life.
Right. Great movie.
It is a great movie, but like, I just think if you think about it, yes, you take that opportunity because it's better than doing nothing or something like that. But I do think if you think about it, the reaction to having to be in that position is really what tells you about human nature. And I think a lot of people would struggle with being in that position.
I think you'd be surprised. I think people with your self-awareness, and there are many, would understand, like, yeah, I would do it, but it would ultimately, like, net benefit would not, like, the net loss of my humanity would not be worth it, and they would realize that. But a lot of people, most people, make compromises all the time anyways, right?
Sorry, I didn't mean to
Like,
play it.
no, it's okay. Like, most people make compromises. This is what I'm trying to say about Kendel. Most people make compromises within the capitalist system regardless. You have to, right? Whether that's working a job you hate or...
We're all evil.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Kendel is just saying, I've taken the ultimate compromise, but I've gotten the ultimate reward monetarily, right? I'm just taking this to its fullest extreme, really. So what does the fucking ethics have to do with it? This isn't about the ethics. This is a Shark Tank. That's what this speech is to me.
Well, sure, I agree with that, but
that's not a justification.
That doesn't make it our ultimate nature. That's the problem. The argument that the capitalists use, just because we exist within this system, doesn't make it our nature necessarily. It makes it one of our potential natures, but it doesn't make it our ultimate nature.
But it's Kendel's ultimate nature.
That's the issue. When it comes down to it, the things that capitalism allows us to do on a daily basis, we would be horrified by if we had to see it up close in person. For instance, we will walk past somebody saying $1 of our pounds or 5 of our pounds or dollars or whatever will be able to feed a family and children in some place in Africa where there's where there's a famine or something like that. We'll be able to feed them for 2-3 months. We could totally afford it, but instead we decide to buy ourselves like a special coffee when in fact
but Nerdman,
we could buy cheaper coffee and just make it ourselves.
I gotta argue with you on this one.
So our sacrifice isn't, there's no sacrifice to giving that
but Nerdman,
$5.
Like,
but
my
here's
country.
the thing, just to put forward the point is that we're all doing things that we find abhorrent on a daily basis. If we saw a starving family right in front of us with a skinny baby and child right there in front of us, a lot of us would not be like, and I'm not just talking about like, oh, there's a woman on the train or something like that who has a baby who's crying and she looks relatively well fed, but obviously it's not nice that the baby's on the street. But if we see that the fucking kid is about to die, right, or a person is about to die, like they are literally there, most of us would do what we can to restore that person's life, I believe. And so that's what I'm saying, is that the capitalism doesn't represent our nature. It just removes things far enough from the average consumer that they can bask in self-interest in a way that won't trouble their conscience. But anyway.
Oh no, I think you're mostly right. I guess the thing I was trying to say is, like, in my country, for example, right? I remember Pickle one time told me that you said something about, like, you don't really have any homeless people where you are. Like, you didn't even really, like, he was bringing that up to you. I think he said that to me one time. But here in America, we have
homeless people.
We have what are called tent cities, right? So there's so many homeless people that they're bursting into the streets, needles scattered everywhere, people with feces and have defecated on themselves, laying in the road begging for money. Many of them are actually hungry. Some of them do want drugs or whatever. The point I'm trying to make is some of the most virtuous, not Succession like left-wing type people, right, that are affluent, walk by them daily without ever handing a dollar or giving it a second thought, because it's just part of what they're used to, right? So I don't know how much I agree with that about the thing of, like, obviously if it was a starving African child with its ribs sticking out, I think people would try to help. But there's people all over that need help right here. Our infrastructure is falling. We're seeing the results of capitalism, and the same people that say they want to change it walk right by the results of the thing that they claim
Oh,
to
I'm not
hate.
saying those people aren't hypocrites. I
Well,
absolutely,
I'm not just saying
I
that.
can't stand when celebrities are there telling us to give to charity
I'm just saying it's
on a
human
TV
nature.
show. I'm like, give your fucking money. All you need is $1 million. You don't need more than $2 million, $3 million.
Right.
You know what I mean? Once you're in the hundreds, 200, $300 million, don't give me that shit that you need all that money in if you don't, hoard it for whatever reason you've decided that you're going to be in trouble or something. You need, like, I'll say 50, like 25 million. That's what you need, right?
Yeah,
Like
you're
to
good.
have a good safety net so that you can make sure. So I agree with you on that. It's like these
But I think
people are.
I think it's a uniquely American, like, we're the worst about it, is what I'm trying to say. And so that's the kind of Kendall thing here, is like, he's saying, okay, yeah, my dad's a piece of shit, but like, this is the game. This is the game that everybody, regardless of what you're preaching, like Shiv with her politics, or my dad who's on the other side of the extreme, at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. And he went out and fucking did it. He built those buildings, he made those films, he made that money. Yeah, the money. You know what I mean? Did we forget that? The whole point of what we're all doing, the money. So I don't know.
No, I agree with that. Again, I just don't think that is satisfying to.
It's not an ethical.
I agree with Ewan in the sense of, I think he's a little bit too idealistic, and he's a little bit like, no, there's a little bit of a hypocrisy there. You've got, like, what, 300, 400 million or something like that yourself, buddy.
Right, but he's right about what he's saying about the net effect that they have on society and culture, the poison that they're spreading in men's hearts. So Kendall isn't right ethically. I'm saying from the capitalist point of view, and they're all business people outside of Ewan, he's correct. Like, who gives a fuck how my dad acted? He was better than you at this.
Yeah. He had talents and he used them to the fullest of his abilities. He is, and
he knew who he was too.
Yeah, and he knew. Dude, I'm a fan of Logan. Right? like, so don't get me wrong. Don't get me twisted. I don't even see him as bad a guy as people make out. Like, he looks after his family. He creates, for better or worse, he creates fucking jobs. He makes movies. He does all of this kind of thing. I don't even think he believes politically in what the channel is preaching. He just knows that there is a market for that.
Yeah, it's IP, like Roman said.
So I get it. I get to a certain degree where he's coming from. Now, like, could I go as far as him? No. Like, in fact, I couldn't even go like 5% into what he does. I think he's a criminal scoundrel in some sense, but like, it's complicated with him, dude. It really is.
NRPI, no real person involved.
I just think he's a monster, but it's kind of like, if you've ever seen, like, American Psycho, weird kind of analogy. Like, I watch American Psycho, and the thing that's absurd to me, and this is the absurdist nature of this particular show, is that in spite of the protagonist being a monster, the people around him are so detached and so into their own privilege, and so lacking awareness of the great fortune that they have in comparison with the majority of people, that it renders American Psycho, what's his name?
Patrick
what's
Bateman.
it? Patrick Bateman, the most human character in that film. Even though he's doing these terrible things,
Yeah,
he
because you get to hear his
ultimately
inner thoughts and stuff, and kind of hear his feelings about things. Yeah,
right. And you get a sense that he's in touch with the world. He even says it, I'm in touch with the world, you know. You're the one who's out of touch, right? So, and there's a reason that he's become so cynical as well, because if you're the only human being with any kind of actual thought process, and you're just surrounded by people who have no thought process, they're just pure desiring machines, you know, you will end up cynical, and you will end up thinking, well, you know, if I don't manipulate them, somebody else is, right?
yeah.
So yeah, Logan's an interesting story, but anyway, we'll react to what you said, and we'll go on to just this part of the speech, which is interesting. Sarah Snook does something very interesting, even from the get-go, which is she says, I'm going to skip past this bit, but she says,
Look at that.
because
Look, you in this too.
you were talking about the character work right here. She says, you know, not everything's been said, you know, where Kendel clearly did just say everything that
Yeah, that's very Shiv move.
that within the context of, you know, what they needed to do,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
to salvage things. He salvaged it, and then she comes on, and you know, there's a part of me that's like, I'm not sure about the writing here, even though the performance is very strong, because I'm like, she knows that she's supposed to be saying the other side to Ewan. So why does she get up there and give more fuel to the fire of what Ewan was saying?
It's
So
very on point.
that bit didn't quite work for me. I was a little bit confused, but at the same time, I think it's sacrificing that logic was worth it for what she says.
Well, I think
Right.
it's on point for her character because Shiv is a very capable and smart person. Shiv's in a lot of ways, she's the most selfish of all of them, in a lot of ways, and the most kind of self-aggrandizing. And I think that's just what all this is. Is just, like you just said, Kendall did what it was supposed to do business-wise to make it like, hey, we're not going to smear his legacy. And then she just gets up here and she's like, well, I'm going to try to do this, but then I end up just ranting about my feelings because I'm a selfish bitch. You know, like that's really what it comes down to. Like that's who Shiv is at the end of the day.
She is a selfish bitch.
Like she really is.
I don't know why I like her, but like she is like a completely selfish bitch. Yeah.
My father. We used to play outside his office, and I think because we wanted him to hear, and he would come out, and he was so terrifying. He was, oh God, he was so terrifying to us. He'd come out and he'd yell at us to be quiet, and this silence. And what he was doing in there was so important. We couldn't conceive of what it was. You know, presidents and kings and queens and diplomats and prime ministers and world bankers. And I don't know, yeah, he kept us outside, but he kept everyone outside. When he let you in, when the sun shone, it was warm. Yeah, it was warm in the light. But it was hard to be his daughter. Can't not. You know, he was hard on women. You know, he couldn't fit a whole woman in his head.
Interesting
Right.
how it cut to Kendall right there too.
Yeah. I think she's gonna win, buddy.
Oh, you're fucking tripping. You're out of your mind.
I think she's gonna win, buddy. I'm
Dude,
sorry.
she's gonna have the worst fall of anyone.
Oh, you think she's gonna be the worse off?
Yeah, I think her unfortunate fate is going to be kind of being miserable with the fact that she has to deal with a kid that she doesn't really want,
Yeah.
and kind of like the cycle of the poison dripping through for her is going to be like just becoming her mother.
Hmm.
And I don't love that in the sense that I can see how some people might interpret that kind of as sexist or reductionist, but in the sense of like the story of the kind of Greek tragedy that they're telling of the family dynamics, it makes a lot of sense.
I just feel that Sarah should have been given more. She nailed. There was a moment. You remember when she's like talking to this woman, where she's convincing her to not testify against
Yes.
the company. She needed more moments like that. Even though her performance has been great, you know, I wanted to see why she could potentially be worthy of this position, and it's never been shown. And maybe that's realistic, because she's always been treated like she's not worthy because she's
Well,
a
it was that
woman.
it was that
And
moment at the dinner with the Pierces where she said, "Oh, for fuck's sake, Dad, just say it's going to be me." From that moment on, Logan never seriously considered her ever again.
right, but I
Because
think he was
she has,
seriously considering her even at that time.
well,
That's
right, and but she has such a short leash because she's a woman. I mean, he told her that. He said, "Of course, it's a minus. I didn't make the world."
yeah, yeah.
But I
So
think they're all going to kind of being their worst fears. Like Kendall becomes his father and loses everyone else in the process. Shiv becomes her mother, and the cycle continues. And Roman kind of just, I guess, self implodes and becomes like a joke,
okay,
which is
I'm gonna go to toilet. 1 second. One
oh
second.
yeah,
Hold it.
no
Hold
worries.
the thought. Do you want to talk or do you want to watch the clip?
I'll just wait for you. It's not. I'll just
Yeah.
make.
All right. You
I'll
talk. Just
freestyle.
one
I'll
second.
freestyle. I don't think there's anyone watching right now. If there is, what's up? Oh, there's 3 people watching. Take WZ to the toilet. What's up, WZ? Tired as shit. Doing this for Nerd Man because I love him. And I'm super sad the show is ending. It's definitely in my top 2 or 3 shows of all time. And I love this moment that we're about to watch. Life is good and bad. It's
Yeah.
life.
So what was going on? How's life? Oh, he's
Oh,
asking how's your life.
I'm not watching Barry. Pickle's watching it though.
Film elitist is a little slut. That's right.
No, I'm a one-woman kind of guy.
He's a little slut. Opens his little legs up. And
No, I'm a one-woman kind of guy. I'm an old conservative.
All right.
This is one of my favorite moments in the whole show right here.
Go watch Barry, Nerd Man. I want to watch Barry as well. Do you know what? I try not to watch that many shows. I only stumbled. I thought I was going to watch like the first episode of Succession and just be like, all right, I'm done. Because I only watched it because I like Kieran Culkin and Brian Cox. Nothing else about the premise of this show interested me. I don't know how you felt about it when. I
Oh,
think I
dude.
was the one who told you about it, right?
Well, I think I had seen you do the character. I saw that you liked it because you did the character ranking, and that made me interested. But the posters looked bland, and I thought it was kind of like Billions. But then one day I was bored, and I just started watching on HBO, and I binged the shit out of it. And I'm
Mm,
so glad that I did because I don't usually give a lot of stuff chances anymore. To be frank,
yeah.
I don't spend a lot of time watching media, and man, am I grateful. I never thought a show like this quality would come out again in my lifetime. To be totally honest with you, I thought that a show that was, and I'm not saying this is a plus, but I just want to make this point. I mean, it's mainly white people in this show, kind of being like degenerate, and there's a lot of non-politically correct stuff, but it's because it's satire and it's done so well that it works. I just didn't think a show like this could exist, to be honest with you, in this time period. This quality, the kind of topics they touch on, an all-white cast, basically. I didn't think that could happen. And again, I'm not saying the all-white cast is a plus. I'm just saying, like, it was just a surprising show to me in so many ways. And when I'm just fucking grateful, man, because this is like up there with The Sopranos and
Oh,
6
it's
Feet
definitely
Under.
it's up there. It's definitely up there, and I the only show like I mean you hate Game of Thrones, but that was the one show that I was like super into.
Oh, I loved it until the end, the last couple seasons.
Yeah, well, exactly. So, but that was the show like I got super engrossed in, and there's usually just one show at a time, and I try not to do more than that. But I will give Barry a go. I've heard very good things about it. And I know people are doing a lot of reactions to it. So what is it about this scene? You want to set it up for me? Because I don't even remember the scene that much. So what is it about this scene?
The Kindle hate permeating.
I just don't want him to win, bro. I don't like his face.
This is the most decisive and okay. What I like about this is that he's consolidating power slowly. If you really have been paying attention, like even though it's kind of obvious, like Carl was like, "You're gonna, if you fuck me, I'll squeal." But he ended up impressing Carl with that speech. Carl fell in behind him. He recruited Frank in the episode with the tailgate party. He got Hugo on his side by blackmailing him. He went to Colin. Like he's building the old guard really to be on his side, like his dad would have.
I hope they get him with the Shiv. Shiv's gonna shiv him, bro. She's gonna get him with the fact that he run over that kid, bro.
No, that's not the fact that he's gonna get away with it is what's gonna make it poetic.
She's gonna get him with the fact
bro,
he run over that kid.
How is she gonna get him with that? She can't prove it.
She can.
No, she can't.
All she has to do is say it happened, and that will fuck him.
No, because at the end of the day,
this landscape,
it actually makes her look bad sitting on that information at her own wedding. No, I don't think
she didn't know it from her wedding. She knew it like a year or two after. What are you talking about?
But she's been sitting on the info, is what I'm saying. That makes her complicit.
It doesn't make her complicit at all.
Oh, yes, it does.
He came to her, told her about something during like a really emotional time, like just with what happened with the company. Dude, that's coming out. You think that ain't coming out?
No.
It will be weird if that does not come out. And
it's not going to.
That is going to be Kendall's downfall. That he killed that fucking kid, and that is going to be his downfall. You think he's making moves now, and you think it's going to be smooth sailing? There ain't no smooth sailing next week. This next episode is going to be the downfall of this character.
I would bet you almost any amount of money that will not happen.
I'm gonna relish every fucking.
He might not win. He might not win.
Breakdown.
It's not going to be the waiter thing because Roman and Shiv both know that if they release that information, they can't prove it, and they both knew about it and said on the information, so it makes them look bad as well. There's that storyline is over. When he baptized himself in the ocean, that was the end of that.
If he wins, I'm gonna get pissed. I'm going to do a live reaction to the episode, by the way, guys. So if you want to come back, watch. I'm going to do a live reaction to the episode. I will be pissed if this motherfucker wins. I would rather...
My number one boy.
I would rather any of the siblings get it over him. I'm sorry. Shiv has been dismissed so hard just because she's a woman. And everything else about her is despicable. But at least I'm like, give her this because, like, of how much she's been dismissed by her father just for in virtue of her femininity. And then, whatever you want to say about, what's his name, Roman. Whatever you want to say about the guy, at least the dude's loyal. At least the dude, has some love and he's the only one who realizes, hey, I'm privileged. The reason I'm fucking here is because of my dad. It's not, I didn't do anything. I didn't build anything. He's got a realistic appraisal of who he is and why he's there, and that's why he just gives into the fucking nihilism of what his dad has presented to him and goes with it. You know,
I don't think
the others wishy-washy. Oh, I'm pretending to be a little bit of a fucking liberal, and the fact that these women were.
But Kendall's
had all
not
of
doing
these-
that anymore. Kendall's the only one. Here's a good. I just thought of this actually. That part right before Logan dies at the end of the second episode where he tells Roman, he says, "Smart people know who they are and what they're about." Kendall's the only one acting like he knows who he actually is. He's actually realizing what his father said was right. I'm not a good person, and he's stepping into it. Shiv is still trying to do the shit of like, oh, Minkin, I'll work with you, the fascist, when an episode ago I was saying that I'm going to save the world by not letting you be president. Oh, Roman, I'm going to nail this speech, and then I'm going to blubber like a baby
That's
going
to blow up in her face anyway. One, I don't believe that she really is going to.
But they're not being honest about who they are, their own nature.
How's Roman not being honest about his nature? Sorry, I missed that bit.
At the beginning of the last episode, he thought he was a pimp doing his suit. I'm going to nail this speech. I made Minkin president. Everything I'm doing is correct. And by the end of it, he's getting beaten down on the street, crying like a seal.
Which means he's going to win.
No, it means that he's
going to be on top at the end.
Kendall's the only one who's realized who he really is, bro.
There's going to be a reversal of
That's
fortunes,
what this scene
man.
is. I'm setting it up for you, bro. This is Kendall is the only one being honest about this.
The reversal of his fortune happened in the middle of the season. This cat is out, bro. Look at how this. Look at the nature of this guy's writing. If you look at the nature of this guy's writing, the fact that Kendall's in a strong position now means he's done. He's toast. Your boy is gone, bro. I'm happy for it. He's an entitled douchebag. How can you still like him after season 3? That's what I want to know. How can you?
I don't like him in the sense that I think he's a good person. I like him in the sense that he's the person that makes the most sense of the kids, and I like his transformation. This is what I've been waiting for, and it's happening. This is him fully stepping into I realize who the fuck I am. My dad is in the ground.
Into being a douchebag when he's all the
like his father.
He's been going like I'm not a douchebag. Roman has been like fully embracing his douchiness. He's fully embraced the douchebagginess of.
But he also thinks he's capable of things that he's not, and then he always crashes back down. And
when did he? What? Because he cried at his dad's funeral.
Dude, he was firing those women, and then he listened to that voicemail of his dad saying, "You fucking suck," because he knew it was true. He imploded.
Exactly. That's him being realistic about who he is.
After he already fucked up.
In silent, private moments, he knows who he is. He knows.
But Kendall's being honest and making moves.
Nothing without his dad. He's the only one who knows he's nothing without his dad.
But Kendall's the only one that's been freed now that his dad is gone. The rest of them are falling apart. He's making moves, baby. Speeches, consolidating power.
The fuck is this, man?
Living plus.
Dude.
And his let me predict it now, Nerdman. You're saying that he's going to lose. I'm saying he's going to win. And you know what his ultimate moment will be? It will be a callback to the vote of no confidence from the first season, but it'll be him getting the board on his side, winning that moment, rejecting the Silla Gojo, putting it in Madsen's face, telling the Swede, fuck off, it's staying in the family, and he's going to fucking own it. And it's going to be like his overcoming moment. But he's going to end up alone.
Sure. That's going to happen in the middle of the episode, and then Shiv's going to fucking shiv him. And she might shiv herself in the process. I'm not saying that she ain't going to shiv herself in the process. And to be quite honest, I think Gojo is going to fucking buy them. I really do.
I think if they do, Tom ends up on top.
Tom ends up on top, and I'll be deeply unsatisfied with that. That's true.
And the reason he'll end up on top is that he wasn't at the funeral. It will be a logical ending. He wasn't at the funeral. He was the one who made the call, ultimately, to make him president. You know, Gojo's going to find out that this guy's been trying to make moves behind his back. Or in fact, he already knows that Roman and Kendel have been trying to make moves behind his back to keep it in the family, and he's going to fuck them because he's better than them. He's a guy like Logan who made his own. He made his own world. No, he's a faker too, though. Like, it's like his PR lady said. She was, I agree with Phil. She was like, someone gave him a box with code. You know, he's not special, Madsen.
Yeah.
And I think
look,
that's why Kendall might. I think it's either Kendall or Tom wins because he was doing a Logan move by not going to that funeral and working.
exactly.
You know, and
There you
Mattson
go.
took note of that. He said, "Where's your Tommy boy?"
It's gonna be Logan. It's gonna be Tom
There is that
and our
scene of
boy
him in the
and our
trailer.
boy Greg. Our boy Greg.
Oh,
It's like
all I know is that every finale they've done, I was telling this to Pickle, has been fucking exceptional.
I think you have to look at the flow of the show. Like all things aside about how much I dislike Kendall, you have to look at the flow of the show, right? In this season, and it's a dead giveaway for what's going to happen. The first person to fully get annihilated, like out of like any sense of they could be the top guy, was Tom, and they made a big to do about like how he's just nothing. And ever since he stayed there, he's never really risen up apart from like, oh, like his relationship might work out with, but there's never been a sense of him being the leader. And he put himself forward to be that guy, in Logan's absence. So for me, that's a dead giveaway, and it's almost obvious writing, and that's why I'd be a little bit disappointed in it if that's how it turns out, because the way it strikes me things are going is that you're going to have Kendall in the beginning of the episode is on top, may even get to that boardroom scene, may even bring out the scandal about the blood stuff and whatever. But then there's going to be a reversal of fortunes where the Gojo guy gets on top. Looks like, oh, that means Shiv is going to be the CEO, but then he's going to betray Shiv. And none of them are going to get it, and it's going to be Tom.
Maybe. I don't know. I think maybe Tom and Shiv's ending is just that they end up fucking unhappy together.
That could also be, but that would be kind of lame. Honestly, prediction-wise, it's hard to say.
It's
It really
very
is hard to say. I just don't see Kendall being that guy. I really don't.
Oh, he's that guy.
I
This
know
is
he's
him
the
being that
hero of the entitled generation, as who believes he's so much more. He believes look at him walking around like he's his dad or something.
Well, this is his ultimate Sith
Fucking
moment, bro.
bullshit.
And the music in this scene was tremendous too.
Yeah, but he doesn't have nothing. He don't got jack on this guy. Once Shiv tells this guy, in fact, here's how it's going to go down. Shiv is going to find out the relationship with our boy here,
Hugo.
Hugo. She's gonna find out the relationship. She's gonna tell him about Kendall killing this kid.
But why would he care?
Because if it comes out and he's associated with this guy, it's gonna be his downfall. She's gonna go, I'm gonna tell her anyway. So you better tell her.
Oh, okay. I see what
And
you're
then you can be with me. So that it doesn't look like I specifically fucked over my brother, because she won't want to be the one who like just for power like fucks up her brother. That's she'll want to maintain some kind of relationship with him, but to get there, I think her name's Shiv. It's in the fucking name. She's gonna shiv this guy. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to tell you, your hero's going down, bro.
I don't know. I just don't see how the waiter thing could feasibly stop anything at this point.
He killed a dude. What do you mean? Like,
But they covered it up,
it's
though.
like literal criminal fucking.
But the police,
Yeah, and they're
agreed that
going
he
down
did-
with it as well.
But I'm saying the police, the actual stuff that happened, the actual case and everything, the way it all went down, because they covered it up so well, he's not implicated at all. It's just unsubstantiated rumors. That's why I find it hard to believe that it could actually bring him down.
Rumors can take on a life of their own in this media-driven world, and like they're not the stock price is going down because most people want to believe the worst. When they hear that a famous person has done something, because we're all jealous of famous and rich people, when we hear that a famous or rich person has done something, our inclination is to go, yeah, fuck it. Yeah, see, we knew it, like, and fuck them over because of it. And it doesn't matter if they get like criminally charged with it or not; they'll be fucking cancelled. And obviously, being cancelled is a big thing in our society now, and I'm sure that the show is going to want to touch on something like that.
Well, that's
You know,
interesting.
So I'm telling you, I think Kendall's gonna get cancelled, bro. I'm telling you, bro's getting cancelled. It might not be a criminal thing, as you say, because they can't prove it now that it's been so long. But as long as there's that belief out there that he, like drove drunk and high and got some kid killed.
Okay, I see where you're going with this, but I love this because this is his Darth Vader moment. This is some Sith shit right here.
So let's watch it and see what happens.
Hello, me. I'm fine. Big day.
Yeah. Come here. Listen. I got something for you. I want you to brief media on background.
Then I am the droid you are looking for.
Okay, that Madsen's acquisition doesn't have the support of key members of the family. You don't say who. Madsen's trying to steal the company for Song. Board is souring on the deal. Okay, the feeling is, Living Plus, etc. Price soaring post-election, ATN pumped, undervalues Waystar, premiums too low.
Got it.
Got it?
Yeah.
Hugo, life isn't nice. It's contingent. People who say they love you also fuck you. So this is an explicit plan to fuck the deal. Me rule the world. And you can come, but it won't be a collaboration, okay? You'll be my dog. But the scraps from the table will be millions. Millions. Happy?
Woof. Woof.
Fuck yeah, dude. That song that's playing right there is the same song that played when he said he was going to pull the strap out on Hugo. And also, it first played when Logan was doing that pirate speech in ATN. It's the only 3 times it's played. It's a continuation of the same score. I think that's important as well.
It's an important mislead for people like you.
Oh my god!
Again.
You just can't cope with the fact that it's not going to happen the way you want, man.
Dude, we'll see. We'll see. I'll be.
So, what is your prediction?
I'll be messaging you. Before we move off from predictions, I honestly don't know. It's that good a show that it could go any way, but I'll tell you the prediction I'll be happiest with. If their company somehow bleeds out, stock prices fall, and none of these scumbags get anything, and they just have to live with the fact that they are failures. That's my ultimate end to the show. Like, destruction of fucking Waystar, criminal charges, the Kendel stuff comes out about how he killed some kid. Shiv gets fucked over by a Gojo, and Roman just dissipates into just an immense failure. I really can't give a shit about any of these kids.
I don't think.
And I hope they're unhappy in life because they put all of them, helped raise up this kind of fascist to take over the country, to cause division, only so that they can impress a father who isn't even alive. And I'm hearing all these people talking about theories, how they like this person or they like that person. These guys are a bunch of fucking assholes and clowns, and none of them deserve anything. Logan at least made the stuff, the poison that he's putting out there. So at least you can say, to some extent, he deserved this empire just from the work he put into it. The rest of them are fucking clowns, and they can go fuck themselves. So that would make me happy. And if I don't know how that looks or how you get there, but that would be the thing that would make me happiest in terms of the story. The live stream got hit. No, man. Oh shit. Okay, thanks for letting me know. Yeah, that would be the that would be the thing that makes me happy. Anything else is just
Well, that's definitely not going to happen, because even though it's a satirical kind of examination of this world, I don't think the point of the story is that, like, oh, you pay for your sins. You know what I mean? Like, that would kind of be what that ending was like, I think everyone's going to be miserable, but I think that they're all going to be doing very well in life.
I think they'll still have their hundreds of millions in this scenario.
Oh, you're just saying you hope everybody has a personal loss. Like,
I want the company to hit rock bottom. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it has to be bought by Gojo. You know, like the way Fox, you know, ultimately had to be bought out because it hit rock bottom and got fucked. Basically, I want that.
Oh, did that happen? I didn't know about that.
Well, yeah, that's why all of the X-Men and all of that went to Disney, isn't it?
Right, but that was just the movie studios. They didn't sell the news.
Yeah, they didn't. That's what the whole thing of Logan, you know,
right.
saying he wants to keep the news was. But this is what I'm saying is that I hope that what happens with the film studio happens with all of it. Like, something crumbles and their whole stock price just gets shot, and then Gojo gets to buy them for like nickels on the dollar or whatever.
Well, you know, they haven't brought up that Pierce thing since the first or second episode.
Yeah,
and
Pierce buys them. That would be so fucking cool.
That's definitely lingering in the background for a reason. Like, I don't know if like Shiv ends up getting, like, maybe she runs that and Kendel wins, or like maybe Gojo ends up buying them instead, and they're kind of fucked because of that, or something. I would love
if the Gojo guy finds out about Pierce, and then Pierce and them work together to buy the fucking company. That would be beautiful.
It would make sense.
And I want Mencken out. I want him, like, them to find out the election was, you know, badly called. That could lead to the end of their new studio. That they find out the scandal that they called the election just because they wanted, you know, Mencken in, right? Like, so if that something like that could literally, you know, completely.
Hey, that guy's doing a good job as an actor, because he hasn't had a ton of scenes, but I mean, I heard the creator Jesse Armstrong talking about it. He's like, in a lot of ways, he's worse than Trump. He's like the worst nightmare of like what a politician could really be. And I that stood out to me, because I was like, I agree. Like, this guy, although Trump's crazy and we don't want to get into all that, like the Mencken guy, he says some really chilling stuff.
Oh yeah,
like,
absolutely.
It's even more dystopian than anything I've seen in like real life. You know, it's very like V for Vendetta, creepy. You know, it's dark. It's fucking dark.
Absolutely. I thought he did a great performance. I think he was almost better in this season than our boy what's his name?
Madsen.
Madsen. Yeah. He was great in the last season as well. Like, that's that whole conversation he has with Roman.
Oh yeah, I can't believe it's ending, man.
I can't believe it either. It's sad, but it's the right way to go, and it's good to go out on somewhat of a high. I think some of the episodes, as I said, you know, people have been waxing lyrical about it being Shakespeare and all of this. You know, like, you know, since the season started, I've never seen a show sucked off so hard like in my life.
Really?
Like, you can say that the show is really, really good, but at the same time acknowledge, oh yeah, it's had a weak episode here and there, and maybe the writing isn't quite as sharp or as funny or as witty as it was before in the last seasons, but still it's a good ending season. I don't see why those two things have to be contradicting. So, but that being said, those last 2 episodes, man, kind of salvage things for me. So
Yeah, I agree with you. Like,
um,
there's a couple of mediocre episodes, but it's still by and far like leaps and bounds above anything else. I mean, it is still the best show out, even if it is a little weaker.
Yeah.
And if they nail the finale, if it's like the other 3 finales, then like you said, I mean, we'll be going back and saying, okay, it doesn't matter about those 3 mediocre episodes. Like, that was a fucking amazing season.
Did you see the Dahmer show, Jeffrey Dahmer show?
With Evan Peters?
Yeah,
No, I didn't watch that.
oh, it's really good. It's better than season 4.
I heard they like hid that
Succession.
he was gay in
But
it.
I-
Like, they didn't
but-
like address his sexuality.
Oh no, they did. That's bullshit.
Oh,
I don't know who said that. But if I don't know if that show happened last year or this year, because if it hasn't been up for Emmys yet, then unfortunately I have to say then Succession will have a big challenger, because that
Oh, bro.
I think that would be a limited series though, right? So it would be a different category. But
I mean, I don't know.
but the acting, boy, Evan Peters in that, holy shit, dude. And then the dad of Jeffrey Dahmer as well. Wow. Performance of the ages.
Is
So
that good?
it is really that good. I would check that one out, because if as I said, I think that was last year, because I watched it much later, because Jeffrey Dahmer's never been my favorite serial killer.
I don't think it's gonna get.
Yeah, like if it was our boy, the Golden State Killer,
I don't think
I would have been watching day one. But
I believe that it might be really good and that you enjoyed it and stuff, but it seems like critically it got pretty bad reception actually. So I don't think it's gonna win awards.
really, I think. Let me see what Dahmer got.
Yeah, it said like 57% on Metacritic.
That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. And whatever you want to say about the show as well, you cannot take away the performance of the father of Jeffrey Dahmer, who was the best in the show, and Evan Peters, who was also incredible. I mean, this guy became Jeffrey Dahmer. It was sick.
Really?
It was literally sick, dude. How do you spell Dahmer?
DAHHMER.
Okay, there we go. It's come up.
Our boy, the Golden State Killer. They couldn't make a show about him, man.
That show would be too
sinister.
Too lit for TV, bro.
Too lit for TV.
No, but hey, man, I'm loving Ryan Murphy's stuff, and I think he's doing another season with a different serial killer, because it really did. It got 57% on Rotten Tomatoes. They are out of their minds, bro.
Isn't Ryan Murphy the motherfucker that did like Glee and American Horror Story?
He did American Horror Story. American Horror Story is underrated, dude. It's actually
I
very
hate
good.
that show.
Dude, I can show you one season of the one actually with Evan Peters in it. That season was
he's in a lot of them.
Fucking damn good.
I've never been a fan of his.
Well, whatever. Look, either way, this particular show was excellent, and I don't.
I'll give it a chance.
Where they're getting 57% from? That's insane. So it's got an 83 audience rating and 57 critics. These critics can go they're not critics. We have to start realizing these guys are not. Stop calling they're influencers. The people who they are, the people who are doing these Rotten Tomatoes things, they're not. You think back to the times of real critics like Roger Ebert. They didn't have any kind of agendas or anything like that. I think I know why it's got this critics rating, and it's just because of one thing where, to be fair to them, they invented an aspect of the story of Jeffrey Dahmer, like with one of his victims, that potentially wasn't the case or wasn't true. But it might have been true. We just don't know because we can't talk to the guy and we can't talk to Jeffrey Dahmer anymore to find out. But there was some suggestion that he had a relationship with one of his victims. And the mother of the victim is saying that isn't true, that never happened. It was some deaf guy.
That's pretty rough if it's not true.
It's rough, but I would almost say the episode is so good it's worth the fiction. I mean, the stuff.
I don't know, nerd man. I don't think it's ever worth it.
The stuff he does in that episode, right, where he tries to put you in a deaf person's perspective, right? So he films a scene from a deaf person's point of view, so you can't hear anything. And it's fucking ridiculous. It's like, wow, like I would never think to do that. You know what I'm saying? But like to actually film the scene and the horror of it, you know, but like from the deaf person's point of view, so you can't hear shit.
But even if that's a good artistic decision, like if there's a 1% chance you're fictionalizing an entire aspect of someone's memory and who they were for the entertainment value, that is so hack.
Oh, it's not for the entertainment value. I don't think they did it for the entertainment value. I think they did it because they were trying to make a point about the rampant homophobia and the difficulty of being a gay. They wanted to do a story about a gay deaf person, and if you just did a story and a story from the victim's point of view, and if you just did the story, like, oh, he meets him at a bar, takes him home, and he kills him, then you don't really get to see this deaf person's life and the fact that he was dealing with being deaf, black, and gay.
What was the family's contention that the guy wasn't gay?
Oh no, they didn't say anything about. They just said he didn't have a relationship with Jeffrey Dahmer.
Oh, okay. I the way you made it sound, it was like they just invented that the guy was gay, and there was like severe artistic liberties. I was like, well, that would be besmirching someone's memory pretty badly. But I'll check it out. I have Netflix. I don't really use it. I just let my girlfriend use it.
But going back to that, that's the only thing I've seen that would even come close.
Yeah, I can't imagine anything else fucking with it, man. It's the cream of the crop, man. It's going on top.
Yeah,
you know,
no.
Like Breaking Bad, when the final season of Breaking Bad was happening, I really enjoyed it. But there were a couple of moments where I had the same feeling of like, okay, this is really good, but I don't know, you know, because I'm still in the middle of like waiting for it all to unfold. But those final 2 episodes, Ozymandias, which is one of the best TV episodes ever, and then the finale, nailed it and cemented it. And this show could do the same with that last episode. And if this one's that good, I'm not going to give a shit about those 3 mediocre episodes. It's going to be like, this is one of the best final seasons ever.
Absolutely.
So I trust Jesse Armstrong.
Yeah, I think the problem is, honestly, that he doesn't write all the episodes, because every episode, bar none, that I've seen where I've been like, wow, that's exceptional, it's all been Jesse Armstrong. It's like the 3 we're talking about have all been Jesse Armstrong. The 3 ones that we said are strongest have all been Jesse Armstrong.
Right. A lot
of people are canceling Netflix due to the password sharing debacle. What's happened with the password sharing?
Yeah, so I got this email today because I let my girlfriend use it. It's the reason I got it. And so now they're doing this thing where if they're using your IP address, and if it's not on your home Wi-Fi, if it's someone else's house and they detect your account, they won't let the person use your account.
Oh, that's bullshit.
So just forcing people to like pay for multiple accounts.
Although, to be fair to them, it's not fair, but like, to be fair to them,
yeah, they're losing a lot of revenue by people doing that.
Yeah, the shows are super expensive. I don't think streaming is a sensible thing at all. I don't think it's the future. I think there's something else is going to come out that is really the future of stuff, and I think it's going to be, you know, which is why I'm like, you know, I've been telling K-Dots and stuff, like, the superhero boom is over, dude. DC failed. Like, like you thinking James Gunn is going to come in and solve everything when Chat GPT has just fucking come out, and we're heading into the future. We're heading into a point where the singularity is going to be happening potentially within the next 10 years or something like that, maybe 5.
God damn, you've made huge strides on your belief in that since I last spoke with you.
Oh, I'm not saying that we're going to be living in a virtual reality. I'm saying that the singularity.
Well, the singularity means that at that point, I mean, we might as well just be dead.
Well, I don't know that it might be a paradise for all we know. Because
Do you see Terminator?
yeah, I know exactly, but like ultimately, they're not going to stop developing this technology, and with each technology, as it advances, the speed it advances increases to the point that technologies that can transform the very fabric of society are going to be invented within hours of each other at a certain point. If we just keep getting more and more technologically advanced, and if machines take over from building and creating technology, if it comes a day where men can't build a better computer or a better phone or a better car than a computer can, what is the point of any of us doing anything? I think it's going to go to a point where, or a computer can make a better novel within an hour or something like that, or you can make your own film. You just go, da, 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 da. I want to make a Superman movie where he faces Brainiac, or I want to see Zack Snyder's Justice League 1 and 2. You can get the computer to basically see exactly what happened within Justice League 1 and 2. One and within 3 hours it's rendered your own movie for you.
Well, human civilization as we know it will be over at that point.
That's what I'm saying, and I don't think that people are appreciating what it means that Chat GPT and certain other AIs are as sophisticated as they are. Because because they're not that impressive in the sense of what they're doing or the output they're putting out now, but what it means that they even exist is that they are going to get better, and they're going to get better very, very soon. And they're going to get much better than we could ever imagine, unless there's some kind of limitation to human development and knowledge.
Well, I agree with you. I think the thing that I struggle with, even though I believe, and I've always kind of just reluctantly just accepted it as a foregone conclusion that AI would eventually surpass us. But I have been struggling. I haven't found one person, because I rely on people that are smarter than me to explain this shit to me, because I'm not a fucking robotics expert. But I haven't found anyone that really has explained how does AI go from this is what it's programmed to do to now it's self-autonomous, it's self-thinking, self-regulating. I don't know how that transition happens. I've never heard anyone explain it.
Well, I think what I've done, I'm not going to explain that to you, by the way. So that's not what this response is going to be. It's going to be responding kind of to what you're saying. Is I've Noam Chomsky dismissed Chat GPT as simply a highly sophisticated plagiarism, and I have to disagree. It isn't just plagiarizing. I've asked it things to analyze things that it should be impossible to do unless you have the ability to make certain connections between disparate elements of things and then bring it together to analyze that thing. That is beyond just a manipulation of language. I'm not saying it's conscious. I'm not even saying it has surface consciousness. But what I'm saying is it's aping an aspect of our consciousness that is the most impressive aspect of our consciousness, i.e., that we can make sense of things, right? So you can imagine if, for instance, we didn't understand causality, right? Like something about our brain couldn't comprehend causality, then we wouldn't be able to comprehend the world. If we couldn't comprehend number, we couldn't comprehend the world. If we couldn't comprehend space, or love, or different aspects of life that in a singular perception, like this singular perception that I'm having right now of talking to you and speaking online over the computer, and it relies on notions of friendship, what that means, love, what that means, pain, what that means, space, what that means, time, causality, all of these kind of things that come together into what seems like a simple perception, but it's incredibly impressive that I'm able to do that, right? Like that perception could exist. And what I've noticed with Chat GPT is it's aping on a very, very small level, being able to bring all of those things together to analyze a specific text or a specific thing. It has to take so much into account for it to understand what I've fed into it, and then give me an answer that is even remotely satisfying. That it's scary that can advance more.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. Like, I'm just saying that I don't know if it can become fully like Terminator,
I think the only limit it will have is if there is a limit to technological development. If there's an actual limit where you, like, for instance, we can say we want to travel to space and search and travel the galaxies, and we want human beings to be on spaceships and be able to. If there's a limitation to that, where it's like, well, actually, you just can't do it. Physics doesn't allow that to be possible. That is the only thing that I can think can stop this thing from advancing to the Terminator level. I'm sorry, like, if it's physically possible for a Terminator to exist, if physics allows for such a machine to exist, it is going to exist. Unfortunately, hopefully there'll be some sense of control over it. I don't know, some fail safe or whatever. But if it's physically possible for that thing to exist, it's going to exist.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you, it's scary shit. Mainly for what it's going to do to, like you're saying, in the aspect of how's anyone going to have a role in society anymore, job-wise. Most people won't.
Not even job-wise as well, but like also motivation to want to create, to want to do the thing that is most human to us, which is to go out and write a poem or write a novel, or to solve a mathematical equation, or to create a new technology. That thing that is most human to us is going to be lost if a computer can do it infinitely better within seconds. What's the point? So my theory is we're going to become the Lilliputians, and it's just going to be back to the days where whoever's most violent, or whoever's most beautiful, or whoever's has the most physical prowess is going to be the one who's going to have the advantage within succeeding as a human being, because intelligence is going to be unnecessary.
Yeah, it's pretty alarming. I hope it takes longer than we think for us to reach that point.
It won't. I'm sorry to tell you, it won't. Just look at how computers have advanced over the last. Computers have advanced more in the last 10 years than they did in the last 50.
Oh, I agree with you. I think the one chance that we have is like, you know, I heard some people talking about it. They're working on a bill in Congress that's going to make it like the FDA is for medicine, and how the, you know, whatever the committee is that like oversees airline stuff. There's all these oversight committees that like keep shit in check, and they're saying that we may need the same thing with AI, because otherwise society is going to collapse.
Yeah, I let's hope that they do that, because anything else is it's very, very scary, very, very scary. Because if you look at like even the Industrial Revolution, the amount of people who had to sacrifice for us to be in the position we're in now, it's going to be mass losses of job, crime, everything is going to go up. And even if it turns out good in the end, there's going to be like a big moment of turmoil before that happens.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's kind of what I think is going to happen. Like it's going to be a struggle to figure all this out, but I don't think it's going to be the collapse of society. And I think we'll navigate it in a way where we realize like the net benefit here, it doesn't outweigh the cost. You know.
Well, I think back to Star Trek, which is a funny show. It's almost worth doing the origins of Star Trek now, because I think there's a dark secret that is behind Star Trek, which is that actually millions, if not billions, of people died for Star Trek to happen.
Right.
When we advanced to that level of technology, when we reached technological maturity and actually stepped into the future, there were billions of people had to have lost their lives for that to occur. And then also, I think what's now unrealistic about Star Trek is I don't believe there's going to be people doing astrophysics and all of that like kind of stuff. Why? The machine can do it. Like if data can do it like that much faster, why would anybody study it? Why would anyone get like? They're never going to be able to achieve anything in it.
Yeah, but if we reach that stage where everything is done by machines, then only the people that can afford the machines to do the task will be left.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, what other purpose would anyone else serve in society?
Right. So all of the people are going to die, and then people with the machines left are going to be in a utopian society, essentially, where it is basically the form of socialism or whatever, because they can't have jobs, they can't do anything. Either that or the machines kill us. These are.
Or we kill the people that make the machines.
Nah.
Well, thanks for going down that dark path, nerd man. I got enough shit to worry about in my life.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. It was just
you got dark on me, bro.
Yeah, it's just
it's something I've given a lot of thought.
I'll share something with you. Actually, it's quite interesting. So I got. It's quite funny, actually. I hope it does tell me if you can hear this. Oh, it won't allow me to do that. Okay, so I'm going to share something with you without my mic on. Tell me if you can hear it properly.
All right. Is this some kind of AI recreation?
Yeah.
I've heard some of these. They're pretty scary.
Ritalin invites me, Igris addict to me. And Vicodin visits me visually. Addicted to vitamin E for my vision. See, cause I'm a visionary. Infamy beats have it in front of me. And I ain't claiming victory till I find out Victoria's secret. Sinfully composed, the sinister symphony teaching infants bigotry, trying to sect the mindset of a rhyme vet trying to ignite bigger than Trident or Skynet when I vent. Vex cause I can't pay my rent. Spend it all on sex, drugs, and violence aside.
It's interesting.
Shady.
Slim Shady rapping my
AI.
ear. But yeah, it's not very great at the moment, but that's going to get better. So you're going to be able to make your own Eminem album. You know, it might bring on a lot of I feel like there's a thing where for a while, when the technology is in its infancy, it might bring on a lot of creativity actually, but then it's going to advance past the point where our creativity becomes irrelevant.
Well, hopefully it'll be something where it's more like assisted AI, where it, we can use it in ways that help people be better at their jobs, but not destroy jobs, and be more creative, not less creative.
I need to pee one more time, and then we're going to finish our thing about Succession. But sorry,
yeah, no worries. Oh, I did hear that, WZ. I heard a lot of the Kanye ones. I'm just not worried, man. There's enough shit to worry about. Nerdman's over here tripping about AI. We're gonna nuke ourselves before that happens. Just gotta live life.
Oh, by the way, what I didn't tell you was that was a recording of a track that I did. And I took the voice from the track and just, put it into the AI to have it mimic Eminem and Tupac's voice. Okay, so back to after that back to the show. Wanted to quickly do one thing with you before we go. Let's rank it. Let's, for old time's sake, not ranking all the characters, just the siblings and Logan Roy, and maybe the brother as well. For
this is just favorites.
So who will get the Emmy? Right? Who's going to get, like, if we're top 10 for Emmys? I think that will be 10. Yeah, so top 10 for Emmys. Who should be in the mix? We'll start at the lowest, and then we'll work our way up.
All right.
And I guess it will just be for season 4, yeah, not all EFG. H. I. Yeah. So now we have enough, and we can move it up. So, in last position of the main cast, it's going to be Greg for me. I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah,
I don't even think he deserves. Like, he's the only one who categorically does not deserve any kind of mention.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
And that's unfortunate, because he was my favorite character before.
Yeah, at one point he was very good, but I don't only think that he's useless, but I also dislike his character.
Yeah, it's sad. I don't know what they did to this guy. I mean, his performance isn't great either, but I feel like if he's given the material, he really can nail it. But
I think his whole thing is just like, oh, this is someone that was relatively decent in a world full of evil people, and now he's just become one of them.
But I don't think he was ever decent. I never understood why people thought Greg was. I thought he was a piece of shit like the rest of them.
Well, maybe naive at least.
I don't even think he was naive. He was just not. He was just a beta male. That was it. He was beta, but like that was about it. He just wasn't. He was still a bit of a shark, but just like like the limp shark that still would kill and maim people, but amongst the other sharks, he's just not really the most fearsome. So yeah, I don't know. You don't agree with that? You think he was?
I don't think he was a good person. I just think he was not as
Yeah.
corrupted as them, but now he's full on piece of shit.
He's a terrible piece of shit. Okay, so next, are we going to put this chick in the mix? Because I think of all the other execs, she's the only one who's had an outstanding performance where I've enjoyed her at points. But
Sure.
do you want to put her in there, or is she not even?
I'm sure. I think she got nominated last season, but I don't think she's had near as much to do this time around. So I don't know how they'll do that.
All right, so we'll say last two. Okay. Who else? Tom would be next for me. I find him floundering. Apart from the scene he did with Shiv, I don't. He's not as witty or as funny or.
But hold on though. I agree with that. But he had the balcony scene.
That's what I said.
They had the great, but there's more than that. They had the great scene where they were laying in that bed when they thought they were going to divorce, and they had that talk. They had that, and then they had another great scene where he was telling her like, all of my life I've been thinking about money a little bit, and like he kind of just told her how he really felt about why he betrayed her and stuff. He's had a few good, really good dramatic scenes, so I think he goes a little higher.
Did you hear the Kanye "Hey There, Delilah" song? No, we can listen to it after, but I haven't heard it. Oh, that was a great then. If that was you, yeah. Strange, man. Very bizarre. So sorry, the last bit you said about Tom was I listened, but I forgot. I'm sorry.
I think he should be a little bit higher because he has had some good dramatic moments.
But he doesn't compare to the siblings. The siblings are all way outstanding.
Oh no, he doesn't.
Yeah, so I mean that's my point of view on it. I just think they dropped the ball with Greg in the third and fourth season, and now Tom is still relevant, but I mean I just don't like him. I don't think he's interesting. So next for me, and this is where we might have some kind of disagreement here, would be this guy.
Oh, I'd put Tom above him.
You put Tom above him?
Yeah.
For season 4?
Yeah. He hasn't had one scene.
I think you're right. I think you're right. Honestly, I think you're right. But I think I'm also mistaken in one aspect. Connor should be here.
Oh yeah,
Connor's really great. He's superb when he's given a chance.
Yeah, he just hasn't been given a lot to do. But like that bar scene, the karaoke scene was great.
Yeah. So it's sad because he's
one of the best characters.
Yeah, I don't like him very much either. I think he's a complete piece of shit.
They're all pieces of shit.
Yeah. So I don't know where Mencken is. They haven't put Mencken there for some reason. Should we use someone else for Mencken, or can you see Mencken there?
Oh no, you can just use someone else.
Need someone else for Mencken. I would go Mencken next for the speech he gave, like his presidency speech. So I'll use this guy for Mencken. That presidency speech was fucking brilliant.
It was really good, but I would still put Tom above him.
I don't know that Tom's done a performance as good as the acceptance speech, bro.
Oh, dude, that balcony scene might have been the best acting in the whole season, even though it was, even though his role overall isn't. I mean, that was exceptional.
I always fall asleep during that episode. 'Cause I find the middle of it quite boring, but and I wake up during that exchange. I've seen the whole episode once when I first watched it, but like ever since I've tried to watch it again, I just keep falling asleep. It's almost like a sedative.
Just watch that scene real quick.
Should we watch it?
Yeah.
Oh, we got took off though.
Yeah, it only lasted like 10 seconds, so it's not a big deal. They're not gonna pull the video down and like strike you or anything.
They are because they took it down. We can't.
They took it down.
Yeah, they took it down. I mean, we could watch it separately and react to it. Like,
Oh, it used to happen to me all the time. The only reason they'll actually take it down is if they won't take the video down. They might just disrupt the stream for a second.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I don't want them to disrupt.
Oh, you don't want that? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I feel like it would be important to what we're saying right now.
We could watch it separately off screen if you could. I don't think it's sensitive.
That's fine. You can leave Mencken, but I disagree.
Dude, I'll tell you what. I think Mencken's been better this season. I just don't. I don't know if he's been better than Connor. Actually, more than Tom, because I think at least Connor had that speech in the thing of in the karaoke. Fuck it, I'll put Tom on top. For this scene.
All right. That seems fair.
You know what? And Tom might be above Logan as well. And we might have to add a couple more here.
I hate Shiv. I really hate Shiv.
I hate Shiv as well, I don't hate her, but I feel sorry for her a little bit. But all right, so we've got to go Logan, right? But I think Logan, what is he in? 2 episodes?
Yeah,
he's only above Connor.
Yeah,
he's only above Connor, right?
Yep.
So I don't see Brian Cox getting the Emmy, unfortunately, and that's sad because his body.
Well, I think he will get it because he'll be categorized as guest actor, so he won't have as much competition.
Hopefully, because he did one hell of a speech, and then that scene that he had, which was pretty much his last, where he got to like show his stuff. That speech he gave with of them not being serious people was very good.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah. So we've got Mencken and Tom on top of Eve. Do you think maybe Logan deserves more than Mencken, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
There you go.
All right. I've got to go with the brother. The brother hasn't had much, but for a guest appearance, bro.
He was only in 1 episode.
1 episode, but that's a hell of a guest appearance.
I'd put him next to Logan.
What do you think?
I'd put him next to Logan, but in front of him.
So you're saying Tom goes like that?
Yeah.
I can deal with that. I think you're overrating Tom a little bit. I have to say. I'm not trying to be horrible to Tom.
No, I know. I see.
I just think Tom's a little bit of a waste of space this season, apart from one scene. But I can deal with that because he has had more screen time and he's not a bad actor, so it's not like his fault or anything.
Shiv is next.
You think Shiv is next?
I think the 2 boys that both outacted her. Not because she's a woman. That's just how I genuinely feel. She killed it, though. I mean, she killed it in the scene where...
But she's so good. I mean, when she is good. I mean, like, I don't think she's ever been bad in the show. I can't think of a bad scene with her, like where I'm like, oh, she's not bringing it. It's just she's not given the material the boys are. Like she's never had a scene where she could like while out like Roman did.
Well,
That's what I was
gonna say is most of her best moments are like arguments with Tom or shit with her dad. Like when it's business lingo type stuff, it's never as interesting or good for me with her.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying, and it's like it's completely unfair because I feel she'll nail it. There's no doubt.
Well, I think it's just because her character really doesn't know business. I mean, she never has. Politics was her world, and that's always been kind of her fatal flaw compared to her brothers. Like she wasn't really allowed to be like nurtured into the business, She didn't even work for the company until the second season.
I mean, I really don't want to do it, but I think you're right. Right? My heart is telling me,
You're feminist. You're feminist.
You're my feminist. Shut up, son of a bitch. It's nothing to do with that. I just think she's that good.
I'm joking.
She's great. I genuinely.
She deserves the Emmy. She deserves the Emmy.
Yeah. All right.
I want her to win.
So here's the big one. Is it Roman or is it Kendel for top spot? I honestly could go either way. But
same.
Who are you privileging? Yeah. Who would you? What's your gut telling you? Because if your gut is telling you something different from what mine is, then maybe we could give a short defense.
My gut tells me Jeremy Strong is top.
Okay, my gut tells me Kieran Culkin. So all right, we can do this. We're not trying to convince each other. We're just giving our opinion.
Yeah, because it's close, like you said. I think Kieran Culkin has done a couple of moments that were amazing, like the thing you said with Mattson on the mountain, the crying at the funeral scene. But I just think Jeremy Strong has had more, consistent moments. Those are the only two I really remember from Kieran Culkin that were like, oh, he's killing it. You know what I mean? And he was fucking killing it. But like the Hugo strap-on scene, that Darth Vader music scene at the funeral earlier from Kendel, even the Living Plus.
Sorry, go on.
No, it's okay. Even the Living Plus thing, like I didn't really care about that scene, but like the acting in it was tremendous. Like him, kind of doing the internal stuff of like, this is Kendel having a panic attack and he's gonna fuck this up, but then like composing himself and taking control of that situation. Like he does a lot of shit with his eyes and his hands and his body and stuff. It's like you were saying earlier, it's fucking masterclass. He does a lot of shit, and I just think it's been more consistent. But I'm fine either way. I really don't care. Either one of them.
If
they're both going it.
If I'm going by Emmy rules, right? It's about an episode, and who was the best overall in a specific episode?
Kieran Culkin.
I think it's Kieran Culkin. He's funny and he's terrible at the same time. And he can, in an instant, with a snap of a finger, go from a more loathsome character than even his father to your favorite character. And not just your favorite character because he's entertaining you, but because you feel for him. And I think that's a remarkable trick where that even Kendel isn't required to perform, or Jeremy Strong isn't required to perform, because he's always somewhere like kind of like in the middle. You kind of understand him as a person, but he's a bit of a dope or whatever, and you either root for him a little because he's a little bit of a dope and a little bit of an underdog, or you just, like me, you just like kicking the underdog because, you know, he reminds you of yourself. Um, um, so he never really has to walk that line of just being completely outrageously appalling, and then coming back to somebody you can kind of empathize with. And I just think in terms of emotion and just raw emotion, not just giving like a great speech, like, you know, like, oh, I get to give I think that to be or not to be Shakespeare speech. You know, you have to be pretty terrible to fuck that up. You know, and then if you're a really great actor like Jeremy Strong, you even bring it even more to life, right? But he's given that material to really chew on in certain scenes, and I think Kieran isn't necessarily given that. It's just raw emotion that pours out of him sometimes, and it goes from that to that sarcastic presence, which is always very entertaining, and he always nails the comedy as well. So on balance, that's why, even though I think this guy is fantastic, Jeremy Strong, he's an actor for the ages, and he is the best actor of the siblings. There's no doubt in my mind about that. But on balance, in terms of what has been required to be performed in this show, in this characters, I think Kieran is well overdue an Emmy.
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
Sure, I'm gonna put him first anyway.
I gotta
since you're my guest.
I'm
leaving now anyway. That was it.
I want to tell you something before we go. The final shot in the show.
I can't.
It's gonna be Kendel. Kendel on top of the roof of the building as CEO, like when he was in the season 1 when he was looking through the glass. That's gonna be the final shot of the show.
Final shot of the
Kendel
show is Kendel climbing up the thing. No, he's climbing up that thing, and then it cuts, and you don't know what he does.
Going to kill
himself. Yeah, and you don't know what he does. That's the final.
I think he's going to be looking out on the city.
I'll agree with you. Kendall's going to be the final shot of the show.
I think it's going to be him on that roof.
But I don't think it's going to be what you what you think.
It's going to be him drowning.
It's going to be him in prison, like with a bunch of guys.
Remember when we thought he was
going to make some?
He was going to die in that pool in the last season for like that 1 week.
Yeah. Oh,
that was so strange.
That was so crazy. I was like, "Fuck, is Kendel dead?" And even I was like, "That's not." I was gonna be. I was about to be very unhappy. I was gonna go on a rant about that if he actually died. Because
that would have ruined the show.
Sorry, you've ruined the show. You've jumped the shark. That's terrible. You know. But they
drowned in the pool.
They did the right thing. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. Whereas Brian Cox kind of made sense, even though I don't necessarily agree with it. It makes sense that he died. You know.
Yeah, actually, the more I thought about it later on, I was like, this makes a ton of sense because they were never going to beat him. You know what I mean? And it services that idea of like who he was as a character. Like these kids were never going to outmaneuver him. Yeah. Like Kendel had a shot, but he's never going to get it again while he's alive. Like he had to die, you know, for them to actually have a chance.
Do you actually have to go, or do you just want to stop talking? Because I want to talk to you after the stream.
Oh no, I have to go soon. I'm like, we can talk for a minute, but I got to go because I got to get like at least an hour of sleep before I do this thing I'm doing.
Okay, cool, man. All right, I don't know what time it is where you are, but like,
it is 6 in the morning, 6:20.
Oh shit!
Oh, bro, I stayed up all night for you, baby. I did this just for you.
Oh, thank you.
I owe my old buddy.
Really helpful, and it's been such a good discussion from the AI to the actual show.
People will like this. Pickle will watch this, and I'm sure some people will rewatch it.
Yeah, it's been really interesting, but I tried to put Kendel on top because I know he does deserve it, but I just couldn't do it.
I'm really.
So I'm going with my boy Roman.
They honestly all deserve Emmys.
Oh yeah, they do. The top Why is Tom in the top 4? Oh, fucking hell. I can't believe you convinced me that he's... No, that's got to change as well. This guy deserves it more than...
Pickle will
that.
watch this and be like, what the fuck was Nerdman talking about?
Yeah, I'm sure. So yeah, that's our predictions. I'm gonna be here and watch the last episode. I'm actually gonna watch the funeral episode now, just to entertain myself for a while before I do my first read along of a comic character. So I'm gonna do read alongs with comic characters. So 1 week will be Judge Dredd. 1 week will be because fuck the comic book movies, man. I'm done with them. I want to go back to when I just enjoy. Look, I'll go and watch them and stuff, but I'm done really speaking about them too much. I'll speak on The Flash, and that's it. I've seen every comic book movie I wanted to see in my life, apart from the Superman vs. Brainiac movie, which apparently is the next movie anyway. So once that's done, I've seen literally every comic book movie I've ever wanted to see. I saw the Dark Riddler serial killer versus Batman. I saw a weird Joker movie. I saw Wonder Woman, a good Wonder Woman movie. I've seen everything, So I'm going to go back to just enjoying reading comics, the source material. So I'm going to do like breakdowns on DC characters specifically, and some other characters I like Spawn and Judge Dredd, and just do a read along with everyone so that they can see the pages that I'm reading, and I'll give my thoughts as I'm reading along of the artwork, the storyline, how it kind of compares a little bit with the movies and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, like it's time to get back to the innocence of enjoying comic books, or arguing over, did they get exactly the suit right or whatever the fuck. I just don't give a shit anymore.
Oh, bro, I'm so out of the loop. This will be the last time anyone sees me for another 6 months.
Well, I hope I at least get to speak to you offline.
Oh, dude,
I'd like to
you can talk to me anytime.
But yeah, so the first read along I'm going to do is Shazam. Did you like Shazam: Fury of the Gods? I suspect your MCU heart can take it.
Dude, I haven't seen a comic book movie since the Batman.
Oh, really? That's sad.
No, I'm good.
It made you hate.
I'm not sad at all. I'm happier than I've ever been in my entire life.
No, that's sad, man.
I am good.
It's sad because they're good.
I don't need any of that shit. Well, I don't.
Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was good, bro.
I heard. Pickle showed me some scenes, and it made me laugh. So I don't think I quite got the reaction they were looking for.
Yeah. Well, I don't really like Guardians of the Galaxy as a I think they're fine movies. But
I'm just over it.
Everyone's
over it.
Yeah, it's true. I agree with you, but I enjoy comic books and I enjoy seeing these guys on screen. So I'm not going to turn against that. I just don't want to talk about it quite as much because it's
well,
everyone has their own experience, of comic books, and you can't communicate that experience to anybody else. It's impossible. So
this is the worst possible time for me because it's like I always like the darker, grittier type stuff. Not that I entirely didn't enjoy like Justice League and stuff like that, even the old Justice League cartoon and some of the lighter stuff. But I always really enjoyed like Daredevil and Batman and Punisher and darker takes, and the lighter stuff I did like was like people that there was still a lot of stakes and a lot of loss and tragedy, like Spider-Man and even Superman has a lot of loss and tragedy. So for me, it's like this is the most candy-coated, factory-made. Like they don't take any risks. Like it's also corporatized and like factory made, and it's just like a conveyor belt of. There's just no originality to any of this shit, and then you also have the problem of like political correctness and just all the weird. I don't even want to get. I got to a point where it's like I can't say what I want without offending somebody, and being accused of being one of the like right-wing lunatics that just wants to hate everything, and I can't like what I want to like because apparently they don't make that shit anymore. So it's like I can't win either way, and I just zap the joy out of it for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that. I mean,
I really like the Batman.
Yeah, well, that was great. But it didn't zap any joy out of me in terms of watching these things. But I think just the discussing the constant no, this is good, no, this is trash, no, this is good, and I do it as well. I can't help it, like
Yeah.
I just want people to enjoy what they enjoy, like enough is enough. I thought at some point, maybe at the beginning, I thought, oh, people won't change their mind, but at least they'll be able to see where I'm coming from or something along those lines. But then I realized, no, people don't see where you're coming from, and it's a pointless discussion. They can only see, and this is the problem. When you're talking about like the adaptation of like a book, right? You've got one book, right, where you can go, they really fucked up that book, or they fucked up the message of that book, that
comics, it's so many interpretations.
Right. Every different writer and artist has a different interpretation. There's no one interpretation of Superman.
Plus, there's so many, there's so many runs to base it on, and then you have how the director takes that one specific run and the suit and the storyline and the tone, but it's also just like and obviously movies were always there to make money, and maybe this is the cynic in me, but it just seems like since the Avengers and especially since Endgame, they're so focused on it's like superhero movies have become the Fast and Furious. Not that there wasn't always.
I feel like it's not the movie makers. I feel like it's the see we're doing it again.
No, it's the studios.
I feel like it's the fans that make it all about the money. I know studios obviously want to make money, but I feel like directors, for the most part, have come at this source material with the idea of making good films. Maybe they're not like
best they can, but look at Marvel.
Moon.
Look at Marvel. Like, it's not that these directors don't care, but they hire people they know they can control. Like, there's a reason Edgar Wright didn't get to do Ant-Man. You know what I mean? You think that they're going to let people take risks that are bad for the brand, or that could possibly jeopardize the money? Like, that's the problem. I can't relate to that on any level.
But that's why I'm a DC guy. But you don't agree with me. So,
well, I mean,
they do let their directors, do
the last two superhero movies I liked were the Batman and the Suicide Squad. So
there you go. So that's what I mean.
I'd rather see 1 out of 10 DC movies that I enjoy, or 3 out of 10 or whatever, and see that like Joker. I'll probably watch the Joker sequel, even though I think it sounds weird as fuck.
It sounds weird as fucking stupid, but it's a risk.
But at least it's a risk. At least there's something going on. It's got Joaquin Phoenix, my favorite actor. It's a sequel to a movie I really enjoyed. It's not going to be some dog shit fucking, oh, Groot, did you poop in the ship? Oh, I'm sick of this shit, man. Like,
no,
I'm 30 years older, man. I'm not a young man anymore.
Yeah, no,
maybe that's part of it.
But I don't think you should rebel against, like, it's great. I mean, if you're a comic book fan, just go and support the movies and stop being like, oh, I'm too old for this or too old. It's comic books. They're fun. They're supposed to be fun. And I think the discussion of it with people who believe that they, including myself, that believe that they are some kind of authority on the source material is what kind of just dampens it. It's just like, you're not. You don't know what you're talking about.
A lot of
you just read a selection of comics and you think that's the way it is. Like, there are people who genuinely go like, the Batman isn't like the Batman from the comics, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? It's not like the Batman you like from the comics, like certain Batman runs or maybe Batman the animated series or whatever. But it's certainly like because Batman has been taken a very dark route recently, and not even recently, like for a long time, like even from the 80s, like where he's been, you know, it's been much more grounded, much more, you know, whatever. And then there's been more fantastical, you know, approaches to Batman, but there's been much more grounded. So there is precedence for that in the comics. So when it gets to that
No,
point,
I agree with that. That's not my problem. My problem, I'll just say it, man. Like and this is with all movies and TV shows for the most part. Succession, not so much. I'll start watching something, and then there'll be some kind of like forced shit in it, or some kind of something that throws me off, or I just see like some political statement they make or some joke that they won't make because they're afraid to, and it's like I see comedies getting worse and superhero movies getting worse. It's just like maybe I just don't agree with the general like direction like this media shit is going, and I don't need to watch it if I don't like it. And that's the thing.
I don't believe they're getting worse though. I think they're like a lot of comic book movies have been really good.
Which is what I realize about a lot of things. Like,
I agree with you that the politics is somewhat, you know, like they inject their politics in and whatever. But I want the creator to do their version of the character. I want them to feel free to be able to do what they want. I just think the studio should choose better who those directors are, you know, because some of them, it's very surface level bullshit that they want to inject into their things. And it's like, if the politics is more important to you than the actual story, then that's where it has a problem. But I'm absolutely fine with politics, whatever politics the person has, like really being, if they want to show Superman as a Republican, for instance, you know, because of truth, justice, and the American way. If they do it well, and it draws upon the mythology of Superman, because you can interpret Superman like that. After all, he supposedly stands for truth, justice, and the American way. And if you look at the American way, well, what is it exactly? It's a very complicated thing what that is. So if somebody wants to interpret it like that, I don't mind them doing that, as long as it's good.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's never good anymore, and it's always the same angle, and it's always the same. Like, it's not opening more doors to things in a weird way. It's like closing stuff off. It's like I know exactly what I'm getting. It's hard to explain. I'll just say it, man. Like I don't like when, you know, I don't mind when characters race swapped occasionally or whatever. I don't piss in my pants and throw a fit about it. I don't go on Twitter. I don't even fuck with any of this shit anymore. But when it's just like every fucking movie, it's like now they're doing movies in the 1800s about historical characters, and it's like, let's make Cleopatra a black person, you know, and let's make somebody that wasn't gay, and let's randomly make sure there's one Asian and one black person and one gay guy and one autistic guy, and this guy has one arm, and we can't make this joke, but let's make like the family.
So again, the political agenda kind of goes over the.
It just dampens it.
And I agree with that. That being said, just to go back to like the stream I'm going to do, so we can get out of here. That what I want to do is each character, I want to read different runs of them and discuss the differences in the way these writers have taken the characters and what I appreciate about one writer's take versus another writer's take, and if I feel like it still fits in with the core of the character and what the character was about originally, or you know. And I'm starting off with Shazam, interestingly enough, because I really loved the new Shazam movie. I thought it was really funny, and I thought it actually took a bunch of risks that people aren't acknowledging, in the sense of keeping to the goofy spirit of the character. It was like super goofy, you know, not in a like, oh, we're just gonna. In the beginning, it was doing a lot of MCU jokes, and I didn't really appreciate that. MCU style jokes where it's like, oh, we need to keep the audience's attention by making jokes. But eventually it settled into a space where it kind of was almost like Spider-Man 1, you know, that kind of charming, comical
Camp.
goofiness that you would find in campy, you know, like, that you would find in the golden age of comics. So I wanted to, because I've heard some interesting things of people saying about like the Shazam family, for instance. They don't like that they made new members of that family, and so I wanted to address like the differences between the post New 52 Shazam and historical Shazam. So that's going to be the first episode with my read along. So I'm going to read a few Shazam comics from both eras and talk about like what I like about
It's a good idea.
either. And then, you know, I'll do Wonder Woman, Batman, and Judge Dredd and Spawn and so on after. And some
Spawn.
obscure characters as well.
Spawn's my boy.
Spawn is my boy as well, man. I can't wait. I don't think I've read a few comics of his back in the day, but I was mainly into the animated series.
I was actually never really that big of a like avid comic reader. I just had a lot of like encyclopedic knowledge from like, I guess, watching like a lot of cartoons, and I used to read when I was younger, but I was never one of those people that was like, let's go to the comic shop. You know what I mean? I just loved comic.
Oh, I was definitely one of those people, man.
I wasn't. I was just like really interested in the stories, and like I would read stuff online and everything, but I never was one of those people. I liked collecting like actual collectible comics and stuff. But then I even got like my life, dude. Now, all I do, I don't fuck with anything. Like I just do what makes me happy. I don't argue with people online. I don't waste my time on all the shit I was wasting my time on before. I feel so much happier. You know what I mean?
It's good,
that's where
but I think the thing was, it was like a little experiment that I did during COVID. Mainly because I wanted to eventually share my music and my the book I was writing or am writing online, and I thought maybe if I got enough viewers that I could share that kind of stuff.
Well, that didn't turn into something else, didn't it?
Yeah, no, but I didn't care if it failed because I enjoy talking about this stuff.
But I'm not saying it like that.
But eventually it just became like, you know, trying to get at somebody because they don't like what you like, you know, like, and I found that disingenuous, like, and I found myself being disingenuous. Even when I tried not to be, that I was like,
I totally understand.
You don't like what I like, and you're shitting on that, so I'm gonna shit on what you fucking like. And I'm even going to hate it more than it is even worthy of hating, you know, just to get back at you or something like that, you know. And it was silly. So I just, that's the aspect that I want to cut out, you know. I'm trying my best.
Yeah, that same, I mean, it's that, and also I just got to a point where I'm like, I'm like, real life matters more, and I have more to offer in my everyday life than I do on the internet, fucking with 10 people and arguing about comic movies or talking about conspiracy theories or whatever it is. Like, I can be interested in the shit I'm interested in, just live my life happy and in peace. That's way more important than trying to argue with people or involve people in my life. Like, I don't need all this shit, and I've just been so much, but I sleep better, just better off, man. So I'm done with it, all of it. I did this because it's for Succession and for you, and you can always talk to me. You have my email and stuff, and we can always talk. But like, I've cut out the shit I need to cut out. You're not one of those people. You're not one of those things. But everything else, I don't give a fuck.
I'll send you a copy of my of the book I'm writing, and then you can be super critical of it or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'll ask ChatGPT what they think.
Exactly.
No, I'll read it, of course.
You could get it to summarize.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's us. And yeah, like, it's been such a pleasure having you back. I'll talk to you for a second when we get off. But apart from that, he didn't even let me do my intro. I couldn't get my intro out because I was responding to all of you guys. But what is it? What do I always say? See you on the left side? No. see. What is it? What do I usually hear? I know it's like I love you 3000. It's like I'll see you on the something side. I've completely lost my mind. Anyway, I love you 3000. Peace.